Is Representative Grawl on?
Yeah. Yes, good morning, Senator Mayfield.
You're muted. I can't hear you. Huh? Aaron, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. It says that I'm unmuted.
Let me see. Maybe it's my volume. Hold on a second. Nope, I can't hear her. Okay. Tess?
Hello?
Oh, yep, now I can hear you.
Right. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone that is on our Zoom call this morning. And, it's 11:01, so we will call the 2021 Indian River Delegation meeting to order. And Jacob, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Mayfield?
Here.
Vice Chair Grawl?
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. We will have the invocation will be led by Representative Grawl, and after that we will have the pledge, which will be led by Mayor Joel Tyson. Joel, are you on the line? You want to unmute him? Okay. We're going to have to give us some. Ask for your patience as we go through this new format of how to do the delegation meeting through the Zoom. So if we'll all stand, and Aaron, Representative Grawl is going to lead us in the prayer.
Thank you. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to be here today with Senator Mayfield and with all of our constituents who are interested in participating in our government. We are thankful for them, their participation, their involvement in making this state, this county, a better place. We ask for your blessings on the legislature as we prepare for session, and to give them wisdom and discernment as we move forward through these challenging times in addressing the needs of our communities, the state of Florida, and this country. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. And Councilman Tyson, are you on the line?
It's Mayor Tyson.
Hi, Mayor. Are you ready to lead us?
I'm ready to go. Let's salute the flag of the greatest country in the world. Still, I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you doing that. And Representative Grawl, thank you for that very appropriate prayer at the time when we need it the most, which is now. I want to welcome everyone to the delegation meeting. As most of you know, this is an opportunity for our local government officials and nonprofit groups and citizens to voice their concerns and suggestions to their local delegation. I know a lot of times it's hard to get in to see Representative Grawl and myself because we have such busy schedules, as you have busy schedules. So this is the one opportunity where we can all be in the same room, if you will. So we both hear at the same time what your concerns and your assistance is needed, that we need to help you with going into our 2021 session. So with that, a few housekeeping items that I just like to bring up. Since some of you will be unmuted, we ask that you please turn your cell phone off and personal devices during the meeting. We will unmute each speaker when it's their turn to speak. And please be mindful of your time to speak and adhere to the schedule. The Zoom link is only for those participating in the delegation meeting. And if you're not participating, we did provide other platforms that have been made available for the public to hear the delegation meeting. And with that, Representative Grawl, would you like to introduce your staff that in your office?
Thank you, Senator Mayfield. And also, I'd like to just take a point of personal privilege. As many of you know, I have a newborn, and I do have some help today with the newborn. Sebastian is 7 weeks old, so he is nearby, and I haven't left him completely. So if my screen goes black for a little bit on and off during the meeting. I'm certainly listening and engaged, but I may need to tend to him briefly. I would like to introduce Ed Berenborg. He is watching. He's my legislative aide. He's watching via the YouTube link, as well as Sharon Stewart. They are always here to help with any issues that our constituents may have, and I encourage you to reach out to them if you need to schedule an appointment with me, or if you need to put an issue on our office's radar and have us engage with the executive branch. That's the typical way that we are looked to for assistance. We are happy to help at any time. So thank you very much for the opportunity to serve, and we look forward to continuing that for the next 2 years. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Representative Grawl. And I hope we all get to see Sebastian, so don't black it out too much.
I won't. I'll make sure that he makes an appropriate appearance.
There you go. There you go. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce my staff. One is most of you may know too what District 17 makes up, and it's all of Indian River County and the southern portion of Brevard County. So, you know, we have over 500,000 people that District 17 represents in our area. And with that, I would like to recognize Dory Leeper. Dory is my newest staff member. She took Adrian's place, who left. Her husband relocated, so she had to relocate with him, as much as she hated to go, but she did. So we did hire Dory Leeper, and she has a wealth of experience. She came from the city of Melbourne as their administrative assistant. Then we have Jacob Diamond. Jacob has been with me now for about a year, and he works out of the Indian River County as well as the Brevard office. And then Caitlin Curry is my legislative aide that works out of the Brevard office and will be traveling to Tallahassee with me this session. So we are so fortunate, and I know Representative Grawl feels the same way. We are so fortunate to have really quality and individuals that work with us, and professional individuals that work with us that feel the same way we do, and that is our most important thing is to take care of our constituents. That's what we are elected to do. And so I'm just blessed to have the staff that I have and to work with. So with that, we're going to go right into the government presentations, and they'll have 3 to 5 minutes each to do their presentation. And if you need more time, you know, we're not going to be that strict on it, but just please keep in mind that there's other speakers behind you, but we certainly want to make sure that you get your points across during this delegation meeting. And we're going to start with the Indian River State College. Dr. Tim Moore is the president, and as most of you know, Dr. Massey, who we had for many, many years, retired, and then we were fortunate to have someone with the experience that Dr. Moore has to come in and fill his shoes, although there are going to be some pretty big shoes to fill in our community. But I have met with Dr. Moore, and I'm confident that he is going to do a fine job and take us to that next level of education that we need in our community. So with that, Dr. Moore, you are recognized.
Well, Madam Chair, let me step in here. This is Andy Treadwell, Dr. Moore's Chief of Staff.
We all know Andy.
Yeah, it's good to see everyone, even in a virtual format. We're kind of getting used to this after 10 months. But Madam Chair, delegation members, Representative Grawl, thank you. On Dr. Moore's behalf, it doesn't appear he's going to make it here on time, so I'll step in and I'll give his presentation. We have Secretary Jamal Sowell from Enterprise, Florida on our campus this morning, and I think he is enlightening the good secretary about all that we do in terms of economic development here at the college. We're going to have a roundtable with all 4 counties that we represent a little later on today. Just trying to do what we can as a college to ensure the state of Florida moves forward well beyond COVID. So with that, Madam Chair, you all have both been filled in. I know that Dr. Moore has met with both of our delegation members in Indian River County. We are moving fast. We are looking forward to the legislative session. Our first and foremost priority is the Advanced Workforce Training Complex, which you are very familiar with. You've both been champions for that effort in the past. We have received $10.7 million from the state already in capital outlay funds. We still have $10.6 million to go. But the good news is we're ranked number 3 on the 3-year PICO priority list for the Florida college system. Based on PICO revenue projections, at least at my last look, we were slated to receive $5.3 million this year. If we can get this, I think we can get the whole project off the ground with additional funding. So I'll talk to you more about a potential larger match on our side, but we've broken ground on this building. It's exciting. We're building phase 1. Let's get phase 2 built as well. So I know you both are very familiar with that project. The second priority at the college this year, and I'm sure you'll hear this a lot from governmental agencies and organizations, is we're going to try and hold our operational funding as harmless as possible. The Florida college system budget has grown by 1.23% over the last 5 years. The state budget has grown by over $10 billion and at a rate of 12%. So we haven't been hogs at the trough. And I say that because I know that there's a large shortfall to cover this year, and that's going to take some careful deliberation. So anything you can do, and we will be in touch with both of your legislative offices as the House and the Senate budget are crafted. But as we bounce back from COVID, I can tell you that Indian River State College and the colleges in general, we're your workforce team. We're your folks that are your universities, your thought leadership, your Florida colleges. We're putting the workers on the ground. So with that, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I will certainly be in touch with your legislative teams as we move forward with committee weeks and across the span of the 2021 legislative session.
Great, thank you very much. And excellent job as usual. And we look forward to seeing you up in Tallahassee, hopefully, Andy. Representative Grawl, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you, Senator.
Okay. I just have one. Can you fill us in a little bit on was it $62 million or $65 million that the school was awarded for the grant program?
I can tell you about, we're the beneficiaries of a recent donation by Ms. Mackenzie Scott. It was a very generous donation. It was the largest donation in the college's history. Prior to this, our largest donation was close to $5 million. This was a $45 million gift from Mackenzie Scott. She provided about $4.2 billion to more than 200 organizations across the nation. This is from the work that Dr. Massey and the college had done, and now Dr. Moore is doing. They vetted more than 3,000 organizations across the country, and we were one of the 200 selected. We were one of 2 colleges in the state of Florida, Santa Fe being the other one. So this is a transformative gift. The idea behind Ms. Scott's generosity is to help communities transform. So we've got some great ideas. We will keep you briefed on how those may play out in the community. But again, very transformative for the Florida's Treasure Coast and Okeechobee.
Great, thank you. And please do keep us informed on the progress of that, and so that we can help in any way we can to maybe do matching to spread that out a little bit more opportunities there. Great. Thanks, Andy.
Senator, certainly will. Thank you very much for your time.
Sorry, my person muted me. Okay, next we are going to go now to Florida Atlantic University and Dr. James Sullivan, the executive director there. Dr. Sullivan, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good morning, members of the delegation, and welcome to any new representatives, this great region of the state. This area is really important to Florida Atlantic University community. Currently, we have nearly 9,000 FAU alumni residing in this region, and they're making really important contributions to our communities with degrees in fields such as science, engineering, nursing, finance, education, among others. And while I'm here to represent FAU as a whole, I want to start by saying that the FAU campus that I'm responsible for, which is the Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, we have been thriving under what we all know right now are very challenging circumstances. However, in the last 2 years, Harbor Branch has nearly doubled the amount of federal research dollars coming into the Institute. So amazingly, our scientists are doing quite well. This delegation's support of FAU over the years has been really transformational for the university. Your support, coupled with the hard work of our nearly 30,000 students and 3,000 employees, has really allowed FAU to accomplish a lot of great things. I'm proud to share that for the second consecutive year, FAU is listed among the nation's top public universities by U.S. News and World Report. We moved up 4 spots to number 136 overall nationally, and an impressive 12 spots to number 33 for social mobility. And this is in recognition of our dedication to serving students from all backgrounds. By eliminating inequity and traditional achievement gaps, the university really ensures that everyone has a chance to succeed at FAU. We've had great success in staying focused on the goals set forth by President Kelly's Race to Excellence 10-year strategic plan. This year marks the halfway point of this ambitious plan. FAU has seen double-digit percentage improvements in graduation, retention, and academic progress rates, and our strong performance has qualified us to receive State University System's performance-based funding on an annual basis now. At FAU, as a whole, total research expenditures have more than doubled over the past 5 years. And our 4 research pillars have brought in more than $76 million in new grants and awards. And I'd like to again point out that Harbor Branch is a big part of that total, with our critical work in the Indian River Lagoon, other parts of the state's coastal waters, and ultimately the world's oceans. The Florida Board of Governors has recently tasked all state universities to become universities of distinction in very specific areas of focus. And FAU is committed to the focus area of applied artificial intelligence and big data analytics. And in 2021, we will be seeking funding to support our standout programs in this arena. In addition, the university is going to be seeking PICO funds for phase 2 of the 80 Henderson Lab School project to complete the necessary construction and renovations for the school. I want to thank you again for your time and allowing me to speak to you today, but most of all for your service to our great state. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. I'm not going to ask Representative Gross. She has a question at the end of each one. It's kind of redundant, but yeah, if you have anything, just to pipe in and ask.
I certainly will. Thank you, Senator.
Aaron. Thanks. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. And next we are going to move to the Indian River County School Board and Dr. David Moore. Dr. Moore, are you on the line?
I am here and looking forward to the opportunity to sharing. And first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to present our priorities, and looking forward to partnering and working with you as we create a school system that is world-class for all of our students. So some of our priorities surround holding ourselves harmless for funding as a result of COVID. The impact of COVID has been tremendous. So really allowing the state to hold us harmless in going into our second calculation so we can continue to provide the services for our students would be key. This is something that most school districts across the state will be supporting. We also want to look at providing as much flexibility with funding as possible. As an example, our categorical funds, giving some flexibility within our construction budget, providing flexibility to use those funds to help fill the gaps in instructions. There are limitations in place that don't allow us to use those funds, but in the midst of a pandemic, that flexibility would allow us to use those funds to offset the academic deficiencies that we're going to experience as a result of the pandemic. And then most districts across the state are always going to look at shifting and providing additional allocation for transportation. We spend about $1.3 million above and beyond what the state funds for transportation. In a district our size, that's a humongous additional cost. So right-sizing transportation for our students is key and something we really want to support. Also, looking at compression and providing additional opportunities for us as a system not to be affected and have to seek a TAN or take a loan in order to cover our bets or cover our finances. So looking for opportunities to be supported and working with other districts to offset and receive funding in advance from the state. There are certain districts where there are property rich that are impacted, and state allocates our funds at a significant later time in the year. That's an impact for the district. We need those funds from the state. We are dependent upon them. So that would be something we would ask for support. And going into the impacts of COVID, we really need to look at time for students to recover. Educational loss as a result of the pandemic is going to be significant. So establishing parameters for additional time as it relates to additional resources to offset the impact of COVID. Also, leveraging and holding harmless assessment, state assessment. So this is something that is going to be tremendous. Students who have been away from school, whether it be at the end of last school year, over the summer, obviously, as well as into the school year. We started with 62% of our students in school. We're now up to about 85% of our students, but there's been a tremendous amount of instructional time lost. So holding harmless as it relates to teacher evaluations, school grading is something that we really want to ensure that we support. Okay, let me just look one last thing. Suspend assessments, I mentioned that, making sure that we do not have assessments for graduation would be another requirement. Last year, the state of Florida waived the state assessment required courses that needed, or exams that needed to be passed. Waiving those again for this year's seniors is also key. Important to note, those students at the end of last year who were in 11th grade, they missed those opportunities to take assessments. And that assessment, when it's not a successful outcome, is data that we use to drive instruction, moving this work forward. So those are some key initiatives for us. And then innovation is always something we as a school system are going to embrace, maximizing flexibility and funding for recruitment and retention. We're under a desegregation order seeking unitary status and having flexibility and funding to recruit and retain world-class educators is something that we very much would be interested in. Those are some of our priorities for the School District of Indian River County. Thank you so much for your support, and we are definitely looking forward to working with you and advocating with you to bring about great change that will improve the quality of education here in Indian River County. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Moore.
Senator Mayfield, I just have one question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Moore, I understand the request to waive assessments for the purposes of maybe school grades, teacher accountability. It's my belief that those assessments should be used to assist the students, in really assist the educator in preparing those students for the next step. And so how are we doing that if we just waive assessments? How are we making sure that that student is ready for the next step? Because I do believe that there's that practical element of assessment that should certainly be utilized in education to make sure that students are prepared for the next step.
You're 100% correct, and let me clarify. We want to take the assessments because that is meaningful data that allows us to create instructional models, instructional delivery, because we now know where the students are. So taking the assessments and establishing a baseline. But I think it's important that the state doesn't place any accountability on school systems and schools as a result of that data. We need to reset the system, have that data, take the assessments, and then plan meaningful instruction based on that data, but not grade a school on data that is going to be significantly impacted over the last, what will be 18 months as a result of the pandemic. So what we're really asking for is waive the accountability, the teacher evaluation piece, because kids have been in the midst of a pandemic, and providing quality instruction in the midst of that time in a consistent basis is extremely hard to do. So it's using that data to reset, establishing a baseline.
Thank you. And to follow up on that, then, what are you doing internally to measure teacher accountability in case there is a situation in which a teacher is not being effective, or you don't believe that they are the best fit for that position to work with those students? Is there something that you're doing internally so that you don't have teachers that are continuing service and maybe in a role that's not ideal for them during this time?
We want the best of the best. So we still have an evaluation system. We still go through a system of support and document the growth of a teacher or the lack of growth of a teacher. We are completely invested in growing educators in our system. But at the same time, we hold ourselves to a high standard. And once you have that investment in teachers, and that support and growth isn't taking place, then we can and will take the next step. So by no means are we saying it's take your hands off the wheel. We're continuing to grow with teachers. Some of the work that we've been able to do this year, and the realignment of our budget has instructional coaches providing direct support to build capacity. But when teachers aren't responding or not willing to participate and grow their craft as an educator, that has a negative impact on teachers. And those are the teachers that we just quite honestly will not have in our system. So yes.
I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Brawl, for that, because I think that is very important. The fact that our children are the ones that have lost out in this past year in their knowledge, and just to pass them on because of the situation that we've been in is not fair to them, nor their parents that are paying for their education. So I think that is something that we are going to have to look at strongly, is on that accountability. If who is accountable for that? And if they're not held accountable, then what do we need to do to address that issue? But I truly do believe our kids have lost a whole year of learning from not being in classroom instructional training this past year. So we have to get back into that. So thank you for that, for the leadership on those questions there. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for your update. And as you can imagine, this is going to be a tough year for all areas due to the budget shortfall that we're going to have, that we have to be prepared for. So, but thank you, and thank you for what you do for our students in Indian River County.
Absolutely. Thank you. On behalf of the school board, we appreciate your advocacy and fighting for us, and we're looking forward to supporting your efforts as we bring change and improvement here to the school district in Indian River County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to the Indian River County newly elected sheriff, Eric Flowers. Sheriff, are you on the line?
I am, Senator Mayfield. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for making time for us to be able to discuss this with you. I know that I've talked with Representative Grawl about this item, and you're going to hear from the Florida Sheriff's Association this year with our priorities. This is one of those items that did not make the Florida Sheriff's Association priorities, but it's something that's been close to my heart. Sheriff Gregory Tony in Broward County is also working towards this as well. Our first responders are our dispatch team. They are the ones who are answering 911 calls. They are providing CPR over the phone. They're giving instructions. And without those dispatchers, our folks, EMS, they would never get to where they need to go. And it's been a long time coming that those folks be designated as first responders. They truly deal with the stress, at least on our end in the law enforcement and in the EMS side. We get some sort of closure from EMS. They drop them off at the hospital. They get to see what's happening. In law enforcement, we know what ends up happening. But our dispatchers literally jump from call to call with the stress of a person having their worst day, and they never get closure. They never really know what happens, and they move on, and it's a very difficult job. So there have been studies done across the country that recognize that first responders, that dispatchers should be recognized as first responders due to the stress levels and the things that are occurring in there. Other states have made this designation. There's been push in a national push as well. It's not made any headway. And the real problem here is that dispatchers don't have a unified voice. In our instance, all of the employees in our dispatch center work for the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. However, the equipment and the functionality of our dispatch center is run through our emergency operations center with the county. So, and then you've got dispatchers who work in a variety of other, some of them work for the county, some of them work for cities. And so they just don't have a unified voice to stand up and lobby to get them moved to high risk status. So my ask is that when you hear this and you hear it being talked about, that you're at least open to it and consider it. And if you ever have any questions, please come visit us, sit in our dispatch center, see what the men and women in our dispatch center are doing every day, see the stress that they're under and what they're dealing with, and let us help you make that decision.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
Sheriff Flowers. I appreciate that update, and I tend to agree with you on that. They are the first line, and they're the ones getting that call and having to make the decision of where to send it, and also help the person on the line at the same time in their crisis. So I appreciate the information on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for making time for us, and you guys have a great, safe session this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to Indian River County Board of County Commission, and Jason Brown, as the county administrator, is going to give us a update. Are you on the line?
Yes. Can you hear me, Senator Mayfield?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Senator Mayfield, Representative Grawl, for the opportunity to present our legislative priorities. First, I'd like to thank you both for your advocacy that you have done in the past, and particularly last session with things like the North Sebastian Septic to Sewer appropriation and the Clean Waterways Act, which protected our county's moratorium on biosolids spreading, which was just huge in helping with the water quality and the environment in Indian River County. So that is greatly appreciated. This year we have a legislative appropriation request, and that is for our South RO water plant enhanced recovery project. And what that will do is enable us to be more efficient in how we're drawing water out of the ground. We get our water from the upper Florida aquifer, and this project would increase that efficiency from 75% to 85%. So basically, for every gallon of water that we pull out of the ground, and we all know that's a very precious resource, we want to maximize the amount that's going to the public with safe drinking water. So this project would basically save nearly 1 million gallons a day at that water plant. So it's an $11 million project. Our ask is for about $1.1 million, or 10% of the cost. You guys have the appropriation form. Happy to answer any questions you have about that going forward. Don't want to spend too much time on that or our overall legislative program, which has a lot of the same things, the lagoon quality, vacation rentals, things like that. But I want to take the opportunity today to talk to you a little bit about the COVID vaccine effort, which is paramount to the success of our county and the state in moving forward and getting past this process. So my first request, and you've both been very supportive of everything and all of our efforts. We are working with our partners at the State Health Department to get as many vaccines administered as possible. If we get an allocation from the health department, we get the shots in arms as soon as possible. And when the governor was here a couple weeks ago, he was happy with our operation and said, if you get shots in arms, we want to get you more shots. So just want to, anything y'all can do to make sure that you're telling our story about how those vaccines are going, and I believe we're doing a good job of getting those shots in arms here, just to make sure that we are getting our fair share of vaccines. The next thing is there have been some challenges with the process, largely rooted in the limited supply, and I know this is a challenge for the whole state as well. But our commission wants to have a waitlist program in place. We have looked at various options. At the same time, we've been told by the state folks that they are rolling out a statewide system that they want us to use. So our board has basically held off on getting a separate system because we have been told that if we don't use the state system, that we would not receive state support, that the state would only provide state support to vaccination sites with their shared care system. So two-pronged request on that. One is to make sure that we would continue to get our share of vaccine and whatever resources are needed. The state has undertaken some great efforts like the Hard Rock Stadium site that my understanding we'd be uneligible for things like that. We want to make sure that that doesn't result in Indian River County not getting our fair share of vaccine going forward if we move forward. We also have gotten differing messages on when that shared care program would be available to us. Most recently hearing maybe next week, which is different than I had heard yesterday. So two requests. One is to help get us moved up the line on that shared care if we're going to move forward with that. And the other one is to help advocate that if we don't utilize the state system, that Indian River County will still get the support from the state resources that we need so that we can make sure that we can get the shots in arms. Oh, the other point on the shared care is my understanding is at the initial rollout, it does not have a wait list. I think that is a functionality that they're planning to roll out later. But if we could emphasize that if we're going with the shared care, we want to make sure we've got that wait list capability sooner rather than later. So with that, thank you for all of your efforts and anything you can do to be of assistance on this, which I know you guys have done a great job advocating and representing Indian River County residents in the past. So thank you.
Thanks, Jason. I'll give you an update on the shared care system. I did talk this morning, actually yesterday and this morning, and we can get offline. It's a pretty detailed information to share with you, but the bottom line is it is not going, if the county chooses not to use the shared care system with the state, it is not going to affect allocations to the counties. One of the purposes that the DMS was given a task of coming up with such system is because many counties out there were not, did not have a system to even take appointments. So the role was to come up with a state site that counties can participate in. So that was kind of the role of and the purpose of the shared care system. So if you choose not to use it, it is not, there's no penalty to the counties for not using it. Now, the county, and they're going to clarify this, the county can do it like a hybrid, and they're going to clarify that this can be done. If you want your citizens and you want to use that shared care system, you can do that. And then the call center, if you will, would need to know where your sites are located so that they can direct your citizens where to go when your allocations are available to do it. So they're still working out how it's completely going to work. And as you know, as anything else, when systems go, it takes time to work through the bugs. But there will be a call system in place first, and then they'll go to the website for people to sign in on the website as well. So the call system, they will take the call. The person would call in, and then they would give basic information, not to a live person, but they'll call in and you'll get a recording that says, what area you calling for, and then you would say, and then a real person would evaluate that, and then they would call the person back and say, you are in the queue, and when vaccines are available in your area, how do you want to be notified? Do you want to be notified by phone? Do you want to be notified by email? And then they would contact that person, and then they would make the appointment for them to get the vaccine. So it's kind of the purpose of it was to have an outlet for counties that did not have a system in place to make those appointments or to talk to their constituents, so that the state would do it for them. So, and I can go into a lot more detail on how it's going to work and what their thoughts are on it. But the bottom line is it's the county's choice. It's not going to affect the allocations whatsoever, and what the counties would be receiving in their allocations. I was told there's 75 sites throughout the state that have the ability to do vaccines. And that does not include the publics that are now coming online. That does not include the assisted living facilities that are being handled through CVS and Walgreens. Those are just 75 sites that are throughout the state that are handling the vaccine. So we can go into more detail after the delegation meeting and more questions on it. But I did get that clarified, that it's no way going to affect the county, and the county has the option to either opt into the system to relieve you from having to do it, or continue the system that you have already.
Okay, thank you for digging into that and for that info, and I'll probably take you up on that offer to talk in more detail. You don't want to waste everybody else who's waiting to speak out there.
Well, believe me, my discussion with them is, look, Representative Brawl and I are the ones that are going to have to field all the questions if this process doesn't work. So therefore, it's the best person to have on the phone as to explain to me how this is going to work in a layman term, because we're the ones that's going to get all the questions and the complaints in our office, and we want to make sure we understand what you're doing, and we also want to make sure you understand where the problems are, because you're not the boots on the ground working it. You are. So they assured me that they're working through the process, and our input is very valuable on how this is rolled out. But we'll have a separate meeting and go through more detail on it for your option.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome. Any other questions, Representative Brawl? Do you? Okay.
No, thank you.
The next item is going to be the City of Vero Beach, Monty Falls. Good morning, Monty. How are you doing?
Good morning, Senator Mayfield.
How's the city?
We're doing great.
Good.
We're doing great, and thank you and Representative Grawl for allowing us the opportunity to present along with our colleagues today.
Good to see you, Monty.
Same here. So I'll get started. We have one issue we'd like to talk to you about, and it's our airport. And I know you're familiar with it, but let me just give some background information. The Vero Beach Regional Airport is an enterprise owned by the City of Vero Beach. It sits on land that we acquired from the federal government in 1947 after the end of World War II. While the airport offers a great economic benefit to the greater Vero Beach area by providing 5,500 jobs with an annual payroll of approximately $340 million, it doesn't provide any direct monetary benefit to the city. Because of restrictions placed on the land upon acquisition and from acceptance of grants for improvements, any revenue generated at the airport in excess of cost must be used for airport improvements. However, if there's a revenue shortfall, that shortfall has to be made up by the taxpayers of Vero Beach. Unlike the city's other enterprise operations, such as the marina, water, sewer, and solid waste, the airport provides no revenue to the city. There are two types of airports in Florida: general aviation, and those are small airports that serve private aircraft and small charters. They do not have scheduled passenger service. And commercial service airports that are publicly owned airports that do provide commercial service, and they're split into two categories: non-primary and primary. And the non-primary are 10,000 passengers per year or less, and then the primary are more than 10,000 passengers. The City of Vero Beach Regional Airport became a primary commercial service airport in July of 2019. The transition from general aviation to commercial service can be economically challenging for an airport. Unfortunately, the current FDOT guidelines for funding do not support FDOT's financial involvement in this transition. Once the airport reaches the 10,000 passenger boarding threshold, their funding designation changes. General aviation airports are eligible to receive FDO funding of up to 80% of any non-federal share, while commercial service airports are limited to 50%. The reason funding matches are reduced when an airport becomes commercial service is that commercial services may charge passenger facility charges up to $4 per passenger. If you have a high number of passenger boardings, it's true that that can offset the benefit, but for a small airport in transition with around that 10,000 threshold, it doesn't come close to offsetting the loss. Since Vero Beach tripped the threshold in July of 2019, we have been fortunate to have received administrative relief to this funding issue through July 1st of 2023. We need your assistance in attaining legislative relief. Chapter 332, Airports and Other Air Navigation Facilities, is the relevant legislation, and specifically Section 332.0076C restricts the 80% funding, and we're requesting your support that would amend that section to read as follows. When federal funds are not available, the department may fund up to 80% of master planning and eligible aviation development projects at publicly owned, publicly operated airports. If federal funds are available, the department may fund up to 80% of the non-federal share of such projects. Such fund, and here's where we like to have the change. Such funding is limited to airports that have no commercial service, or, and this is the change, commercial service airports that have not been classified as large, medium, or small hubs by the FAA. We've discussed this with the Florida Airports Council. They have been supportive in our efforts, so we ask for anything that you could do to further our request. And I want to say your staffs have been very, very helpful in getting us to this point, and we're available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the update on this issue. I'm glad that you all were able to receive some administrative relief, because I know that there was a question whether or not this could be handled completely through rulemaking. And so I appreciate the update to the issue, and I'm happy to look at this more closely with Senator Mayfield between now and the bill filing deadline to see if it's something that we can successfully pursue to give you that relief before the next before your time runs out in 2023.
Thank you, Representative Grall.
Thank you, Monty, for that update. And I know we've talked about this last session, and it wasn't in time for us to really do anything during session last year. So it seems like a reasonable request to me. So, but with that said, whether or not it's going to be able to be done, but we'll certainly work on it, look at it, and my office will keep you posted on what we find out as we go through this process and trying to make this change, because it does seem pretty, common sense, makes sense type request.
Yeah, and thank you, Senator. We want to continue to offer the service that our residents enjoy at the Vero Beach Airport with the scheduled customer service. And this change would allow us to continue to do that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, members, now we're going to go to the city of Sebastian, who, what I was told, Representative Grall, was what you named your baby after. But
it is definitely a good coincidence, correct?
I think it was the Saint Sebastian, yes, right?
Yeah, there is the Saint Sebastian, and he is the patron saint of athletes and also the patron saint of plagues. Not the only reason we named him Sebastian, but certainly apropos given the time that we are in, and hopefully he'll be a blessing I know he's a blessing to us, and he'll be a blessing in the future to our community. So yes, I look forward to hearing from the city of Sebastian. Welcome today.
Thank you. I'm Mayor Dodd, City of Sebastian. I want to, Senator Mayfield, Representative Grall, I want to thank you for the opportunity to address some of the legislative initiatives that can be important to the city. First, I would like to emphasize that we firmly believe in Sebastian that local decision-making for the local population is important, and we hope that we can support any efforts that you may have during this legislative session in providing you assistance or anything that we can do to support you in that effort. One important note is that Coastal Living Magazine has recently listed Sebastian as one of the top 12 communities in the country. Their criteria was a little bit different than some of the other, but Sebastian did fall through that as one of the top 12 communities in the country. We really think that was a great accomplishment. Let me talk about some of our specific issues that we're dealing with. Septic to sewer is a major problem in Sebastian. A large number of our residents and businesses are installing septic tanks. A lot of those are older. The older septic tanks leach into the ground levels. They produce contaminants both in the groundwater and the surface stormwater, which provides pollutants into Indian River County, in the Indian River Lagoon. Recently, Indian River County did a survey, and they identified several areas within Sebastian Highlands that are in their top 20 pollutants in the county. So we support funding initiatives by the state that incentivize or assist residents and communities in converting from septic to sewer. It's a major effort, and it's a multi-year effort, and we support any legislative support we can get in that area. Giving with that, the city is currently investing over $1 million in developing a complete citywide stormwater master plan. That plan, once it's completed, will allow us to begin to mitigate stormwater problems within the city, which will have both citywide and countywide implications. And therefore, we support legislation that provides a recurring source of funding for local governments to do these types of projects. We also support initiatives that boost funding for flood mitigation and stormwater mitigation, and prioritize funding for the region's basin management action plan where that can be supported. Vacation rentals are another big issue for us. Short-term vacation rentals is something where state legislative action has impacted dramatically the ability of local governments to monitor and control that. We oppose any legislation that would further remove the local government's ability to regulate short-term housing, and in particular, the length of rentals. We do support legislation that will return to the cities these short-term rental, vacation rental additional. And we support collaboration with the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation that abides by both state and local regulation to comply short-term rental taxation be done correctly. Annexation and affordable housing is another area. We definitely support the Indian River County's Board of County Commission's efforts in affordable housing. We support the exemption of the State Housing Trust Fund and the Local Government Housing Trust Fund from the provision that authorized the funds to be moved into the General Appropriations account. Affordable housing is a major problem in many parts of Florida, and transferring those funds creates funding shortfalls for that. We also, in relation to affordable housing, support efforts by the Florida League of Cities to legislate and facilitate municipal annexations that might help with the development of affordable housing as long as property rights are protected. We have a unique problem in Sebastian. Many of you know we had a mini coup that occurred to us in the last year, and right now one of the problems we're finding with that is that the Sunshine Law violation penalties are relatively minor compared to major impact of that. And we support and would like to see the legislature address making penalties much more substantial in cases where it is a planned event, it's premeditated, and it raises to the felony level. That's exactly what occurred here when that took place. So we'd like to see the legislature address that issue and at least determine whether there's something that can be done with that. So with that, I'll turn back for any questions and answer any questions anyone may have.
Great, thank you, Mr. Dobbs. Glad to see things are moving in the right direction for the city, and you guys took the proper actions to get it there. So septic to sewer, I'm glad to see that that's still a focus for you guys. We all know that that's what causes the pollution into our Indian River Lagoon. So I think you'll continue to see some good water quality funding, maybe not as much as we've had in the past year, but I think we'll continue to see some good, water quality funding at the state level, because we know we're going in the right direction with that, and we don't, it's always if there is start and stop that affects the quality. So thank you for keeping that at the forefront of Sebastian as well.
Thank you.
Representative Grawl.
Oh, and I appreciate the input on the government in the sunshine issues that you all have had and the recommendations. And I think that those recommendations would fall within the purview of my role in the House this year as chair of the Public Integrity and Elections Committee. And so we'll certainly take a look at this and anything that we can do to enhance ethics violations, and the penalties for ethics violations, I think, does deter future bad behavior. And so always willing to look at those and see if there's some way to tighten up the statute. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll go to the Fellsmere Police Department. Keith Touchberry. Chief Touchberry, are you there?
I am, Senator. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Very good. Good morning, Senator Mayfield. Good morning, Representative Grawl.
Good morning.
And I'm really here today in my capacity as a member of the Legislative Committee for the Florida Police Chiefs Association. And to get on the agenda in advance, I sent you a copy of our association's legislative priorities and our position statements for the year 2021. And I did want you to know that all of that information I sent to you did pass with approval from the full board of the FPCA. And so I did want to emphasize a couple of things on the priorities and statements list, and then tell you about an exciting initiative that we have going on here locally that I think you'd be interested in hearing about. Of course, we support Governor DeSantis's Combating Violence, Disorder, and Looting and the Law Enforcement Protection Act. We think that these things that are happening all across the United States are very scary, and we want to protect our communities and we want to protect law enforcement, and that's why we support the Law Enforcement Protection Act. A couple of things that have happened since I sent you this information regarding the position statement on amending the false report to law enforcement. This is something that we're referring to as the swatting law. And as you know, it's only a misdemeanor offense if you misuse law enforcement resources by filing a false police report. So what we are proposing, and we do have a sponsor in the House, and we're very close to securing a sponsor in the Senate, is we're proposing that we amend that statute so that we increase the penalties for if the expenditure of the resources by a law enforcement agency, and this is not just local, but it's also state and federal, if the expenditure of the resources in investigating a false claim involving the use of a critical response team like a SWAT team exceeds $1,000, then making that a felony, a third-degree felony. If we have serious bodily harm or injury, disfigurement to a person as a result of lawful police conduct during the deployment of a SWAT team that was falsely called to an area, we're looking at a second-degree felony. And then, of course, higher than that, if it involves death of an innocent person, first-degree felony for falsely reporting and misusing of police resources in this manner. We're seeing this trending nationwide, and there are various different states out there already that have what they call swatting laws, and we think it's important for the legislature to take a look at this for this session. Also want to talk briefly about the firearms waiting period. As you know, when the Brady bill passed years ago, it required that a person purchasing a firearm wait 3 days before they can possess that firearm. And at that time, you can walk out with a rifle or shotgun the same day, but you had to wait for 3 days for a handgun. And we know that that's been amended moving forward. However, a law enforcement officer who does not possess a concealed carry permit still has to wait 3 days in purchasing of a handgun. And this is something that we've been talking about for years among our professional circles, and we think it's important that the legislature address that. And then, we are actually working on drafting a bill on that at the moment. And then finally, we just want to be very clear about body cameras. The FPCA does not oppose body cameras at all. What we do oppose is a state mandate that every agency will purchase and use body cameras for their officers. We think that these solutions are best found at a local level. We know that mandating the purchasing and wearing of body cameras could have an adverse impact on law enforcement agencies, especially if there's no funding made available. It does amount to an unfunded mandate. And so we're not opposed to the cameras. We are just opposed to the mandatory wearing of them at the state level. So entertain any quick questions about those before I tell you about this other exciting initiative happening locally.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the updates.
Yeah.
Thank you. The last thing I want to mention to you is came about as a result of a question, and that question is what are we doing in the state of Florida to prepare our future educators for that post-Marjory Stoneman Douglas world that they will enter once they graduate college and step on the campus that they were hired, whatever school district in the state of Florida hired them. And the answer we're receiving is really nothing. We're not doing anything other than to continue to crank out men and women who are ready to teach in our schools. So the Florida Police Chiefs Association, local subject matter experts in law enforcement along the Treasure Coast, working in partnership with Indian River State College and the 4 counties in our area that the college services, their school safety representatives are working on developing curriculum to be delivered in the final semester of a college seniors education program, to where they will be exposed to that post-Marjory Stoneman Douglas world that they will enter. We are hammering out the content and then delivery of that right now. We have already trained interns in the spring this year with active shooter. And this is more than just putting our future educators through active shooter drills. This is preparing them for what they will and should expect as a result of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas law that passed in 2018 and beyond. So we know that our teachers who are hitting the classrooms now have gone through active shooter drills. But once they go, several years will pass moving forward. Every teacher moving forward will have gone through these active shooter drills in their school systems as students. But what are we doing to prepare them as educators? So we are working on addressing those issues at Indian River State College. It's an exciting initiative, and I can certainly send you any information about the progress we've made and what our goals are moving forward if you're interested.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And if you can, Chief, send it to the office, because I hear what you're saying, that it should be made part of the curriculum that teachers or that students are receiving to get their teacher degree, if I'm hearing you properly.
Yes.
As part of their educational process to be a certified teacher.
Absolutely. And I think we have to bear in mind that our future educators are going to come to their prospective employers with some expectations. They will have gone through, at some point in time, 16 years of active shooter drills as students, and they're going to go to college and get a degree. And when they set foot on our campuses, they're going to say, hey, to their prospective employer, what are you going to do to prepare me for this and help me protect our students? And that's really what we're seeking to address here.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is our last government presentation, and that's going to be from the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. Thomas Layahan, are you there? There you are.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tom Lanahan. I'm the Executive Director for the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. Our regional council covers Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Palm Beach counties. In October of 2020, our council, as well as the South Florida Regional Planning Council, so that's representing a total of 7 counties, 6.8 million people, held a joint meeting and adopted 4 different resolutions that I want to share with you today, and I believe you have it in your packets as well. The first is regarding coral reefs. It seeks further continued state effort on disease response, infrastructure to support propagation and restoration of coral, fixing coastal water quality issues, septic to sewer, something we've heard a lot about today, as well as closing sewage outfalls, and then renaming the conservation area for the late Kristen Jacobs, who worked so hard on the coral reef issues over the years. The second potentially eliminate the land application of partially treated sewage and promote new treatment technologies for dealing with wastewater. And the last joint resolution concerns affordable housing, supporting full appropriation of the housing trust funds for the production of affordable housing in the state. The other issue I want to bring up to you today is to express the council's opposition to Senate Bill 62, which would eliminate the regional planning councils from Florida statutes. Councils function as a regional convener and grant administration for small communities that would otherwise not be able to access those funds and programs. And we also bring outside funding for economic development, resilience, transportation, emergency preparedness, and brownfields remediation into the state that would otherwise not come here. In our region alone, that runs about $2 million a year in those various funding sources. We are not a regulatory agency. We only act when we're invited in to help a local government. And we receive and are not seeking any annual appropriation from the state government. So I'm actually not here asking for money today. Just please let us stay in the statutes and keep doing the good work that we're doing. And then also we have on staff now Terry Ann Paolo, who I believe you know very well, Senator,
Yes, I do.
who is our new Disaster Economic Recovery Coordinator, which is a position funded by the Economic Development Administration of the Commerce Department. And she is working to connect problems and solutions across jurisdictions and across our region on coronavirus pandemic response. And she is there as a resource to both you and Representative Grawl on constituent issues that you may have in that coronavirus pandemic problem that we've all been dealing with. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or provide any other feedback that you're looking for. And thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Representative Grawl, she has no questions. Okay. She's blacked out. She taking care of the baby. She's listening to me. I know. We want to sing. We want to sing. Thank you, Thomas, for that. And you have a great person in Terry, so she'll do great things for you. So
thank you. She already is. We love to have her.
I know she is. Okay, we are going to. That takes care of all our governmental presentations, and now we are going to move on to a local bill discussion. And Dr. Faraday, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and would you go ahead and talk about what your request is for a local bill?
Yes, thank you very much. I tried getting on Zoom, but technologically was not able to make it. I wanted to discuss the city of Vero Beach has got over 23,000 water, irrigation, sewer, and reuse customers, broken down by about 15,000 or 64% in the city, about 4% or 17% in Indian River Shores, and over 4,300 or 19% in the unincorporated county. 36% of its customers for water and sewer are outside the municipal limits. In recent testing, the last triennial lead testing by the city was in August 2018. Of the 30 residential samples for lead, the sole sample in the county was 60% higher above the highest city sample. There were no samples taken from the shores. I've spoken with medical doctors, I've read some medical reports, and they've indicated that the snapshot in time of lead results, which may be below federal levels, are not as much a problem as the continuing accumulation of lead, particularly with regard to children. The state also conducted and reported in March 2019 the results of its triennial and report, and it showed that the water source for the system is in pitiful condition. Virtually all wells in service had leaks, Some wells had biogrowth sludge at the packing lands. There was no distribution of this report by the city staff to the Public Utilities Commission of the city until such time as a member there happened to get a copy of the report. In 2019 and 20, the City Council sent staff to discuss the merger of its water sewer system into the county. In April 2020, the City Council rejected the proposals of remodeling the existing plant and also rejected further water sewer consolidation talks with the county because of cost and the possibility of having to fund some cost of the county water sewer expansion. Please note that and remember. It also approved removing the plant at the bridge and building a new one at the airport at an estimated cost of $58 million. That's about 38% more than was projected as the cost about 2 or 3 years earlier. A January 2009 opinion I received from the city attorney indicated that outside customers are liable for the city bonds that are issued to support their utilities. On city franchise agreements, the city has got a franchise agreement with the Shores, which started in 2012 and expires in 2027, allowing for minimum 4-year advance written notice to terminate. It provides for the Shores to get cheaper county rates. The Shores is again in litigation with the city on the terms of a utility contract. With regard to the county, there were separate 30-year water and sewer contracts which expired in 2017. The county gave 6-year advance notice in April 2011 of its intent to terminate the 2017 contracts. At that same time, in April 2011, the city's consulting attorney advised the city to let the contracts terminate in 2017 and then use a 75-year-old state statute, section 180.02, which provided for arbitrary 5-mile city reach out into the county unincorporated areas to continue to provide water and sewer service. In January 2014, the City Council resolved that the city would charge such customers the cheaper county water sewer rates. In other words, the city, not the county, determines the rates for the county customers. In 2020, the city proposed a new water sewer contract with the county customers paying higher city water sewer rates, which would pay at least $11 million towards the new $58 million city water and sewer plant, as well as the cost of the city trying to implement the Waterways Act expenses. Presumably, the city's 2014 resolution for county customers getting county rates will be repealed. County customers now pay about $250,000 directly and indirectly towards the city's budget, excluding funds transferred to the city's water sewer capital fund. The 85-year-old section 180.02 passed in 1935 when the city represented about 60 to 70% of the county population versus 9% in 2017. What I propose is an amendment to section 180.02, which would add a local provision just for Indian River County, which would provide that a municipality deciding to initiate, expand, and or continue to provide water services outside of its municipal boundaries in an unincorporated county area must hold a referendum at its expense to determine if such registered voters in that unincorporated county area want to receive or continue municipal or county water services. The wording of the referendum would have to be approved by the county, and the referendum must be held at the next scheduled county election. If a majority of the registered voters in that service area approve water service by the municipality, then such service could be provided for up to 30 years, subject to county approval. If a majority of such registered voters in that service area do not approve, then the municipality must allow the county reasonable time, including but not limited to planning, permitting, construction, installation, transfer, etc., to provide the county residents with its water source services. The provisions would be effective immediately upon signing. Why make the change? Well, county residents are paying county taxes and should be able to receive county services. There are constitutional issues with regard to freedom of choice, due process, the imposition of debt bondage on another jurisdiction, and we do follow a representative form of government. Also, as indicated previously, there's poor city water quality. Part of the outside customers' rates fund the city budget. That's city taxation. The city is violating numerous provisions of the Florida 1980 Antitrust Act. The higher water sewer rates established by the city, and there's no vote by the county users. $11 million of liability that the county residents would have for the new water sewer plant. County residents should get county services. There's been no change to section 180.02 since 1935. In addition, if the county were servicing that particular area, it would be able to meet more easily state standards for conversion of septic systems to water source systems. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'll help in any way I can. Are there any questions?
I just have one question. If Representative Brawl doesn't have a question, is the county on board with this?
I have spoken with the county. They have not told me they would approve the legislation as worded, but I've spoken with the county.
Okay. So I guess I hear what you're saying, Dr. Verdi, and just two things that I would comment on. One is the city of Vero Beach should take care of their water quality issue. If it is a water quality issue, not pass it on to someone else to take care of. That should be a focus of, if you have leaky pipes and it's a health issue, then and the quality of water, then that needs to be addressed separately through the city of Vero Beach, and they should be taking care of their issue. They're the ones that's been receiving revenue, so therefore that revenue should be used to help maintain their infrastructure that they have. The second thing I would say is that the county is going to need to be on board before anything like this can be pursued, because we can't force the county to do something. It would be very difficult to get something through the legislative process if we don't have the county, who would be taking that obligation, on board on how it would be handled and how it would be done. So those would be the two comments that I would say about any local bill that would need to go through the process to have done.
Well, I think even if the county even if the city takes care of the health issues, the issue is we're still mandated to have city water and sewer services. And they have said that they are going to charge the city rates and increase those rates for the construction of the new water sewer plant, and also for the other activities. As I said before, the Shores can get out of its contract in 2027. So that would mean that the city water sewer plant would be overbuilt by about 17%. That also is a factor too. I will be happy to talk to the county commissioners and to county staff again with regard to this proposed legislation. But we are county residents, and we should be able to receive county services. And we do not, people that I've talked to in the South Beach area do not want to be annexed by the city. But I will talk to them. Thank you very much for your guidance.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, that takes care of our local bill discussions. Now we're going to move into the community presentation, and please, if we're going to have 3 minutes, so make it very useful of your 3-minute time. And with that, we've broken this down into water quality and the environment, and then veterans and children and family elders, judiciary, elections and ethics, and healthcare, just so that we can have all the same, speakers that are speaking on certain categories all at one time, which is very helpful. I know it's helpful to me to have them speak in that type of order. So with that said, we are going to start with water quality and the environment, and we have Edie Witter with the Ocean Research and Conservation Association, and which is also ORCA. And Edie, it's great to have you on the line. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grawl. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
I'm not sure why, but my screen is showing up with Warren Falls' name on it. Warren Falls is managing director of ORCA, so it's close, but I'm the CEO and chief scientist.
I have you as Scott Johnson on my screen. I'm Scott Johnson now. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, I don't either. I've never seen that happen before. Anyway.
Well,
you know who I am.
Edie is the picture. So I know I keep going back and forth too. Now I'm Scott Johnson.
That's very strange. I don't think I know Scott Johnson. Okay. So I want to start by thanking you for your continued support for our Kilroy real-time water monitoring program and for the increase in funding that allowed us to add 3 new monitoring stations in Indian River County last year. We're especially grateful to you, Senator Mayfield, for your support of this project and for your dedication to stopping pollution in the Indian River Lagoon. This increased funding is a critical step towards meeting the additional water quality monitoring needs identified by Governor DeSantis, Florida DEP, and the South Florida Water Management District. As I'm sure you're aware, every part of the IRL is dealing with its own combination of environmental challenges and threats, which are negatively impacting our health and our economy. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, which is why ORCA focuses on collecting data from and finding data-driven fixes for each portion of the lagoon. By combining innovative technology, applied science, and community outreach, ORCA is focused on locating where pollution is entering the lagoon and how best to stop it at its source. The Kilroys are providing community members and policymakers with new powerful tools for determining where management efforts can have the greatest impact. For example, we are using the annual averages of chlorophyll A concentration measured by the Kilroys as a measure of eutrophication at key inputs into the lagoon and tracking changes year to year. And I'm happy to report that comparing 2019 with 2020 data, which we just posted on our social media site, we saw improvements in eutrophication levels of as much as 65% in the Northern IRL. We've also been working with remote sensing groups who are using our Kilroy data to ground truth their satellite imagery and help develop new algorithms for identifying and tracking pollution. As we all become increasingly aware of how critical a healthy environment is to our well-being, the places where people are going to want to live are going to be those where communities have succeeded together to meet their environmental challenges. I want to thank you for all that you are doing to help ensure a healthy environment for all of our communities that depend on the Indian River Lagoon.
Great, thank you. And thank you for what you do. I think, it's been proven that the real-time water monitoring has been very beneficial in knowing where the pollutants is coming from, and to gather that data and really study it. As we have said before, we're going to follow the science on addressing our water quality initiatives. And I think the real-time water monitoring is one way of following the science on our water quality issues. So Edie, thank you. And thank you for sticking with us. I remember years ago when you got started in this, it's been a journey, but I'm glad you stuck it out and we were able to do some good work.
Well, thank you for helping us stick it out.
Okay, next we are going to move on to Paul Owens. And Paul is the 1000 Friends of Florida president. And Paul, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're showing up as Scott Johnson too. I don't know why,
Okay.
but you're not. You are Paul Owens. So
That's correct. And I appreciate the opportunity to address this meeting, and it's an honor to follow Dr. Witter. She and Orica do outstanding work. Congratulations to you, Senator Mayfield, and to Representative Grahl for your re-elections. Since 1986, 1000 Friends of Florida has been advocating smart, sustainable development to accommodate growth while preserving our environment and our quality of life, the twin pillars of our healthy economy. We pursue these goals throughout Florida, including in Indian River County. We were especially pleased last year that legislators earmarked $25 million for projects to restore the lagoon. We'd like to see that continue. On our legislative priorities for the 2021 session, we consider the following items to be relevant and important to the county. First, restore the right of Florida citizens to challenge development orders that are inconsistent with their local comprehensive plans without facing financial ruin if they lose. That right was taken away in an amendment to a bill passed in 2019, and the amendment was never properly considered or debated. Next, establish an annual funding floor for Florida Forever of at least $100 million and use bonding authority to stretch those dollars as far as possible. Protecting land is one of the best ways to protect vulnerable waterways like the lagoon. Next, build on your legislation last year, Senator Mayfield, on water quality to do even more going forward to reduce pollution from agriculture, septic tanks, biosolids, and lawn fertilizer. Next, suspend or reduce funding for the MCOR's toll roads so that more dollars are available to direct to more pressing needs and help balance the state budget. This is important for Indian River County because citizens in the county would be subsidizing planning and design for MCORs through their tolls and taxes with little or no benefit in return. Next, end the annual raids on the state's workforce housing trust funds. We appreciate the fact that you've sponsored a bill to do just that last year, Senator Mayfield. Stop encroaching on the home rule authority of local governments and their citizens to enact policies on local issues that best suit their needs. And I'm adding one item mentioned by Tom Lanahan. We would join him in opposing a bill that would eliminate regional planning councils. We look forward to working with you on these and other important issues for the county and the state during the upcoming session. Thanks again for the opportunity to address the meeting, and thanks for your service to the state.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you for keeping us informed of what's needed. That, you know, people, and I speak for, I don't want to speak for Representative Grahl, but I believe she would feel the same way. It's your organizations that really help us understand what we need to do at the state level as well. You're the boots on the ground. So thank you for keeping us informed of what the needs are and how things are really being applied and how it's working. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, next we are going to have Captain Paul Favetta with the Clean Water Coalition president. Paul, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Good morning.
Okay, and I'll just let, for a housekeeping standpoint, if you want to know who's speaking, at the left-hand corner of your screen, it'll tell you who it is. Like Paul's name is popped up on the left-hand corner of the screen. I've been told the reason that Scott Johnson's name is showing up is because the county was nice enough to allow us to stream through one of their sites. So therefore, Scott Johnson is the one doing all the work and live streaming this so people can see it. So You can't necessarily go by the names under the pictures if that's who that person is. But if you want to know who is speaking, it's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. So with that, Paul, you continue.
Thank you very much, and good morning on behalf of our Clean Water Coalition, more than 1,000 partner organizations and businesses making up the Clean Water Coalition of Indian River County. I'd like to start by thanking you, Senator Mayfield, for the work last year with Senate Bill 712, and we hope that additional benefits can be added to that this year. And also congratulations on your appointment this year. And Senator Grahl, congratulations on your newborn, Sebastian. I know your parents are proud to be grandparents again. So with that, we'll move on. With our legislative proposal this year, we are actively engaged stockholders in the update of the Central Indian River Lagoon Basin Management Action Plan. It has been recognized that the Indian River water quality has not significantly improved as measured by seagrass coverage. In fact, seagrasses have continued to decline since 2011. This indicates the projects to date have not been adequate to restore the lagoon. The 2016 economic study estimated the total annual value of the lagoon's benefits to be in excess of $7.6 billion as measured in 2014 dollars. The draft of the Central Lagoon BMAP identifies a 235 deadline to achieve estimated nutrient load reductions, which is not ambitious enough nor reliable considering that they may be lost. The FDEP staff identified that funding and space are impediments to more rapid implementations of projects under the BMAPs. Therefore, the Clean Water Coalition of Indian River County supports increased funding from federal, state, and local sources as necessary to improve water quality, to expedite achievement of full nutrient load reductions, and address the planning, design, permitting, construction, and monitoring of projects to reduce nutrient loads to the lagoon, prioritized by efficiency of nutrient reduction at the source. Land acquisition is needed to implement projects, adequate staffing of FDEP to enforce BMAP provisions, a comprehensive scientific assessment and characterization of all nutrient sources within the basin watershed, to establish and maintain based on water quality and monitoring, and to guide basin management projects and activities by all stakeholders, including and especially agriculture. Specifically, the Clean Water Coalition advocates the following as immediate solutions to be pursued: partial restoration of the 5 water management districts' millage rates by 0.1 of a mil to generate an additional $150 million for the water management district's cost share program, with matching funds. An additional $300 million would be spent to improve water quality throughout the state. Research to assess the impact from contaminants of concern that may be affecting the health of the lagoon. The new sewage treatment technology as permitted as a permanent solution of the disposal sludge of rural lands, the biosolids. And Representative Grahl, we appreciate your efforts and hope to continue with that. The prioritization of septic to sewer that we've heard others speak about earlier this morning. Enforcement of existing marine discharge regulations, penalties to prevent pollution from transient, live aboard, and derelict vessels, and the requirement for pump out facilities in the marinas. And with that one, we would like to thank right now with a recent program that we helped initiate with the City of Vero Beach, Police Chief Curry, the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Flowers, and FWC. They just completed a 2-day operation identified as Operation Cleanup, and you'll be reading more about that in the near future as well, the success from that 2-day operation. And then to fill the Indian River position on the fine board, and we've talked about this over the last, since probably 4 years now with the passing of Captain Paul Drittenbass. And we think that that's very important to the county, to the cities. And then asking for a permanent moratorium from the state on the biosolids dumping on ag lands in the county and along the vulnerable St. John's waterway. And thank you again for this opportunity, and God bless America.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, members, next we're going to go to the Florida On-Site Wastewater Association, and Roxanne Grover is Executive Director. Roxanne, it's good to see you again. Are you on?
Nice to see you. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well.
So thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on this. We have 4 initiatives that we're going to focus on this year, and then it always ends up being interesting as we move through the session as new things come up. So as this discussion and as we're talking about nitrogen loading to Indian River Lagoon, our first one is a focus on that. One of the things that we would like to see is dedicated funding for the on-site systems upgrade programs. And so one of the challenges we have is because that funding has not been dedicated, then we don't always have access to that funding. And last year, over 1,000 systems were able to take advantage of the septic tank upgrade program. So these were homeowners that could have come in and just repaired their systems using conventional systems. Instead, with the assistance of this program in these rural communities, they upgraded to nitrogen reducing systems with a minimum of 65% reduction. Most of the systems were in the higher 75 to 80% reduction. And with those 1,000 homeowners, we have 400 that are actually on a wait list. So we have homeowners, we call them first adopters, that would like to be part of this clean water initiative. And so we are asking that the legislative body, yourself and Representative Grawl, help make sure that we can get a bill to get dedicated funding for those on-site systems. And I know this group has talked a lot about septic to sewer, which was my next bullet point. But while we are transitioning, we need to make sure that we have dedicated funding for those homeowners that do have those conventional systems to go ahead and upgrade to nitrogen reduction at that minimum of 65%. The second initiative that we have is discussion about the septic to sewer conversion. While we understand that's an important discussion with many communities, we also understand that there are challenges with that. And probably our first challenge is when you look at the ASCE's reporting of wastewater infrastructure in the state of Florida, they call it mediocre at best. And what they say is we have a infrastructure that is increasing in age and has lots of challenges that need to be addressed. And so if we are taking off on-site systems and putting them on aging infrastructure systems, we're not following sound engineering principles. Sound engineering principles, and we saw those in your Senate Bill 712 last year, which were, we need to make sure we don't have challenges with I&I, so we don't want to lose it, we don't want to gain it. We shouldn't have challenges with sanitary sewer overflows, so depending on natural emergencies or just things happening as pumps and things going out, our plant shouldn't have to discharge anything other than 100% treated waste. And then importantly to that fact is if we are asking for advanced wastewater treatment and we are talking nutrient loading as nitrogen and phosphorus, those plants should be at the top of their game. So they should be meeting that 3, 6, or 10 on especially nitrogen, total nitrogen numbers before they move forward into accepting those on-site systems that are going to be converted over. And that's not what we are seeing in the state. So we know that communities are trying to do that. We know that there's no magic money tree. However, we also know that we have systems that have been around for 20 plus years that could treat nitrogen, help with saltwater intrusion, help with recharging the natural environment, right there, which jumps back to that dedicated funding source in bullet point 1. On-site systems can be part of the solution in these communities. They also help with density issues, and then that local community is not going to be responsible for upgrading that plan and moving forward and needing additional state and federal and local funds, because now that homeowner is going to be responsible for the maintenance of that upgraded nitrogen reducing system. And like I said, most of those start at a minimum of 65% reduction, then they go into the soil and get further. So lots of opportunities there. I don't think we always need to look at the septic to sewer. Another initiative that we would like to discuss is the biosolids regulation. Every community ends up with 4 waste streams. So you have your residuals from your wastewater treatment plant, you have your septage from your on-site systems, but 2 that we often forget are your grease from all your restaurants, and those are serviced by both on-site and central sewer, and your portable toilet waste. So that's generated by building and then also by events. And we all like to have events, and I think myself and others on this call will be happy when we can start doing festivals again. And the challenge we are seeing in all communities throughout the state of Florida is no one has a management plan in place to handle these 4 different waste streams. And often what's happening is that management plan is actually sending that waste stream to another community, or possibly worse, they're accepting the waste stream from other communities, and now their local communities can't discharge of their waste stream. So we are asking that communities work to better manage those waste streams, understand that there is a benefit to biosolids reuse. It's a natural reuse, so therefore that nitrogen that's needing to come in for agricultural purposes isn't being artificially made. We can actually use biosolids reuse, and then working with those communities to make sure that we look at initiatives. And I heard one of the earlier speakers talk about looking at initiatives with biosolids. There are so many more treatment technologies that are out there now. It would be nice to see private partnerships to look at all the different initiatives and all the different procedures and protocols that are out there to address this problem. All right, and it's a challenge, I guess. And then the last one, this one always gets excitable, but I want to make sure I explain it well. It's a certified point of sale inspection program. So FAWA is not asking for the state to mandate point of sale inspections. I want to be very, very clear about that. What we are asking for, and we're asking for some legislative assistance on this, is having a certified point of sale inspection program. So if someone is going to conduct a point of sale inspection, so that's typically done at the time the home's being sold, we want to make sure that everybody is following the same protocol. Right now, there is not a standardized protocol. We have been discussing this and have been involved in some different challenges and opportunities in the community. And what we are seeing is, because these inspections are being done by different types of inspectors with different types of training, with the ability to omit some very, very important parts of inspections, we don't have a standardized program. And so without a standardized program, you don't always get the quality of inspection that you should get. And so what we would like to see is a mandated program for those that are conducting those inspections. And not only do they take and pass the course, but they follow all aspects of the course. Right now, if you don't want your tank to be looked at and pumped out, that's not required. And one of the things that's extremely crucial to a functioning on-site system is the quality of the tank that's installed and what type of condition it's in right now. So I just wanted to be very clear. We are not asking for a mandatory inspection program throughout the state. We are asking for a program that says if you are going to conduct these inspections, you are trained through a standardized program and you follow every aspect of that program when you do your reporting. So with that being said, thank you for the opportunity. Congratulations on everything that's going on. And if I can answer any questions, I would be more than happy to.
Great. Thank you, Roxanne, for your presentation, and I'm sure we'll see you around Tallahassee soon. So next, members, we're going to go to David Lentz. David, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, and good afternoon to the members of the delegation. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is David Lentz. I'm a licensed professional engineer and Director of Government Affairs at Infiltrator Water Technologies. We are a member of the Florida On-Site Wastewater Association, and Roxanne Groover asked me to come speak today to provide an industry perspective on two of the issues she spoke about.
Okay, David, I hate to remind, but we're starting to run over on all our presentations, so I really need you to keep it to 3 minutes. Okay,
thank you. Joined by Ron Davenport, who is a Melbourne resident and District 17 constituent today. Infiltrator is a manufacturer of on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems, which I'll call OSTDS today, and those include nutrient-reducing wastewater treatment systems. We supported the enactment of Senate Bill 712 last year, which included a grant program that Roxanne talked about. A couple of the aspects that we saw from the grant program is that it basically pitted homeowners against municipalities, where the homeowners were attempting to conduct retrofits and upgrades for enhanced nutrient reducing systems, and municipalities were conducting septic to sewer projects. So what we'd like is some legislation that clearly defines the allocation of funding between the upgrade programs and the septic to sewer programs, so that we make sure that the homeowners have the availability of funding. Homeowners shouldn't have to compete with the municipalities. They're not equipped to do so. Also, rural, low population density areas where springs are likely to be need this funding for these upgrade programs because of the distance to the central sewer system. We'd also like to see a more of a tilting the allocation of funding toward OSTDSs for Floridians, because 30% are served by OSTDSs, but only 1 to 5% of wastewater related funding is directed to OSTDSs. So we'd like to echo what Roxanne said about the need for legislation to more clearly define where the funding should go. We're not asking for additional funding necessarily, but just making sure the funding's going in the right place. And also, just wrap it up, it's very important where these septic to sewer programs are taking place, that the plants are meeting their permit requirements, that they can handle the flow, and that we're not directing more sewage to facilities that are not equipped to handle it and to meet their ongoing permit requirements. So I'd like to thank you, and I appreciate the time to participate in the meeting today.
Thank you, David, and thank you for that perspective. But I do want to clarify, since it's been said a couple of times on Senate Bill 712, that there was funding, grant matching dollars for on-site systems. Because we know our idea was that we want it to be as cost effective as possible. So we know the counties can't go out into the rural area and put septic to sewer lines out there, or septic lines or sewer lines out there, because it's not cost effective to do that. So if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to go back and check, but we did allow for citizens to make grant applications for newer and upgrading their sewers, their septic tanks with a higher grade septic tank on their property when it wasn't. What we were focusing on was the conversions were with properties that were on septic tanks that were on the river, that were on the waterways, where there was, there's already septic or sewer lines that are available in front of their homes in order to get connected. So while the priority was to get septic tanks off people's property, that priority was on properties that were close to bodies of water that were impaired. But there was also still grant money that was allocated for people that lived in areas where that wasn't possible, but to help them upgrade their septic system that they had. Because I agree with you, there are septic systems out there now that I believe maybe it was the Department of Health that wouldn't approve, but they were higher quality and less expensive to use. And so our hopes with moving the septic permitting and septic inspections from DOH, or lack of, I should say, on inspection, from DOH to Department of Environmental Protection, we will have a better programs in place to do that. So thank you for your input on it. And Roxanne, as always, she's always a wealth of information representing the on-site association. So thank you for coming on. Okay, now members, we're going to go to the American Water Security Project. Terry Gibson and Dr. Peter Burrell with the Legislative Director and Science Director. And Terry or Dr. Burrell, are you on the line? They're not? Okay. Huh? Okay, so I'm being told that they are not on the line. So next we'll go to Indian River Neighborhood Association. Jean Ketchpole. Jean, right. You on the line?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I certainly can. I see your smiling face too.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Indian River Neighborhood Association priorities to the Indian River County Legislative Group. We're a 501(c) organization with about several hundred supporters in the county, and obviously mainly concerned with land use and water quality. So probably some of the things that I'm going to list here you have heard before, so I'm going to be brief. But our number one request would be for increased state funding in the form of grants to counties and municipalities for conversion of septic to sewer. We have about 1,500 right around our lagoon area in the city of Vero Beach. We do have a unique system called the STEP system, which has been actually in place for 5 years, and we still haven't converted 50% of the people eligible to convert, mainly because it's expensive. And so more money needs to be available to help these people convert. Right now, the cost of conversion for this type is about $16,000 or $17,000 per household. And that's a pretty hefty number to carry. And I think we need to help them so that we can get more of these conversions, not only here on the STEP system, but also throughout the state. Our county has a pretty good plan and they have prioritized different neighborhoods that are ones that are closest to water bodies to convert. But like everyone else, it takes money. And so I guess that's our main request, is we need more funding for these conversions. Next, obviously people have mentioned we need money to upgrade our sewage systems to advanced wastewater treatment. That would also help to take care of obviously the biosolids issue if we had really technologically advanced wastewater treatment systems. And again, that takes money. Our next priority would be to increase funding for FDEP, because FDEP is now responsible for over 2.5 million septic systems throughout the state of Florida since they took over from the Department of Health. And they're also responsible for implementing the BMAP. So I don't know where the staff is going to find the time to handle all the responsibilities that have been transferred to them. So I think we need to increase the staff and the funding for FDEP so that they can manage these new responsibilities. Also, raising the millage rate for the water management districts would be a big help. They've been rolling back the millage rate for years, and instead of maintaining it, which I think would have been acceptable to most everyone, obviously rolling back the rates, they can still raise the same amount of money because of the property value increases. However, we need the same amount or more money to handle the problems of water pollution, not less money or the same amount. We need actually more money coming to our areas to help manage the pollution in the lagoon and other water bodies. Also, Florida Forever, that also requires money. We would like to see funding at least increased. I doubt very much if we're going to see the $300 million that it was legislated, but I do hope that we can increase funding for Florida Forever, because as somebody else said, if we save the land, we can save the water. And our last one is fined again. We have been paying money into the fined coffers for 3.5 years or 2.5 years without any representation. So we respectfully request that the governor appoint a representative for our area. And that's our priority. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jean. And I know that fine director has been an issue, and I'll follow up with the governor's office and find out where they are on the appointment. I know they just appointed many yesterday on the state colleges and university. There were several of those appointments that went out the last few days. So I know they're working through the process of getting those appointments made. But I will follow up and find out where they are on that appointment. And I apologize. We had been following up on it, and then, quite frankly, I dropped the ball on continuing to stay on top of them because we kept getting we're working on it. So I'll follow up with them again and find out where they are on that.
And we will continue to follow up. We have too, Senator Mayfield. Our office has followed up repeatedly as well, and without resolution. So we'll continue to make that request. And if we hear anything, we'll be certain to reach out if they need new applications at this point, because I know it's been going on for 4 years. So we aren't really sure about what the holdup is either.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your attention to that.
Great. Okay, next we are going to go to Graham Cox, the Pelican Island Audubon Society board member. And Graham, are you on the line?
I am. I'm right here.
And oh, awesome.
Large as life and twice as ugly. Here he is. I want to thank Senator Mayfield for all you're doing for us on the environmental issues, and congratulations to Representative Grohl. Still waiting to see the little baby appear on the screen now.
Oh yeah,
he was here briefly, but he'll make another appearance, I'm sure.
we saw you cuddling him there. I was jealous.
How do I follow that? Just to remind you, Pelican Island Audubon Society, our mission is to preserve and protect animals and plants in the natural communities and the land and water in which they depend in Indian River County. That's quite a mouthful. But what it comes down to is we want you to remember the words of a song by Joni Mitchell quite a few years back that said, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. And so we have 4 priorities here. And just as an aside, I support all of the things that come from Captain Paul, Profeta, and the other environmentally related organizations, especially Orca and Dr. Witter. 4 issues. Florida Forever is number 1. We are supporting an ask of the legislature and the governor to fund at least $125 million for this fund statewide and the statewide water and land conservation projects. We'd like to see the full $300 million, but we know we're asking too much of the legislature to do that, but we shouldn't be. But $125 million would be a major improvement. Second, support for the continued progress of the Everglades Agricultural Area Reservoir. This is a crucial piece of engineering that's got to happen. I started on that project somewhat about 30 years ago, and it's still going strong, and I keep looking and say, good Lord, are we still working on that? So let's, whatever support you can give to creating that reservoir so that it's a meaningful conclusion to all of that work, that will be appreciated. Third, and this has been mentioned before, support the repeal of the MCORs, the toll roads. These toll roads can never be justified based on the demographics of the areas to be served. Much as we love the East Coast, we also are concerned about what might well happen to the West Coast and to the Northwest part of Florida with these MCORs projects. There are a lot of money that we can't afford to spend. And fourth item, and I'm going to read this one carefully because I can get in trouble with it. We are asking that our legislative delegation initiate the repeal of Florida Statute 165.0615. This provision of Florida law allows certain improvement districts to incorporate without first obtaining approval from the Florida legislature. It was passed in 2012 as a giveaway to a connected landowner in Palm Beach County. This passage represents the worst of our state government. Articles this year by the TC Palm indicated that certain improvement districts in Indian River County may use this loophole in Florida law to create their own municipalities so that they can avoid county land use development regulations. This provision of Florida law will gut the various land use and development standards implemented in Indian River County. With that, I'll end my remarks there by a very personal one, saying please do what you can to sort out the appointments mess for COVID vaccinations. I'm old, I've got disease, and I'm really getting anxious as to whether I'll ever get the vaccination before it gets to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Coxon. I know that it's the problem is getting the vaccine. It's a production issue at this point, with the manufacturers producing enough to get it out to all the citizens. And I know that the state has been very active of letting the feds know how much we need, and we are getting an allocation every month from the federal government because we're putting shots in arms. I mean, it's amazing how well we really have done, and the fact that we're doing better than any other state out there that is our size. I think at this point we've put over 1 million shots in the arms of our citizens that I believe are over the age of 65 at this point. So we're doing a better job than most states our size is doing. That's not to say we can't do better, but at this point it's just a matter of actually just getting the vaccines from the federal government sent to us so we can get it out to our citizens. And so it's almost, it's like the testing. Remember when the testing kits came out, we couldn't get enough testing kits for people to get tested. And then once we got them out, it kind of calmed down a little bit, and then more people could get tested when they wanted to. And the vaccine is getting to that point. We are getting more and more. So we just have to prove to the Fed that we can deliver and get them in the arms of people. So that we're still working on it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next, we're going to go to our veterans section of our program, and we are going to have Admiral Jim Hart, who is president of our Space Coast Honor Flight. Admiral Hart, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Hey, it's great to see you again.
Well, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. We are here today to request your support in passing a bill to authorize a Florida Honor Flight Specialty License Plate. Some of you know Space Coast Honor Flight because you have flown with us as guardians, like Senator Mayfield, or you may have family members who have flown with us. If you are not familiar with Honor Flight, we are a national organization with 130 hubs whose mission is to accompany World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans to Washington, D.C. to visit their memorials. To date, we have taken over 230,000 veterans to Washington, D.C. Now, Florida has 10 hubs. Our first hub was established in 2007, and as of today, we have taken approximately 14,150 veterans to Washington. Space Coast Honor Flight, one of the 10, was established in 2010. We've made 60 flights to DC, accompanying 1,525 veterans. All of our hubs are 501c3 organizations. They rely on private and corporate donations. We receive no government funds. A Florida specialty license plate would allow each of the Florida hubs to share in the revenue the plate will generate to help offset the cost of our program. We believe the connections we have to veterans, their families, and the community, we can reach this goal. We have Senator Burgess and Representative Hodge willing to sponsor the bill. We also have support from, thank you, Senator Mayfield, Senator Baxley, Representative Spencer Roach, and Lauren Mello. And so on behalf of all the 10 Florida hubs, we're looking for your support and co-sponsorship as we go forward. So in closing, I'd just like to invite all of you to any of our events at Wickham Park's Senior Center, or to volunteer and go on a flight with us. Thank you for your attention and for all that you do for us. And I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Great, thank you. And Admiral Hart, for people that have not been to your program, it is very rewarding. And my husband and I had the opportunity, and my gentleman was, I believe he was 90 or 91 years old. And when we finally got back, and it is a packed day, but these guys and gals, it's just so heartwarming to be with them and them share their stories. And I was exhausted by the end of the day. We got back to the senior citizens facility, and my guy was like, well, where are we going now? And I'm like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going home. I don't know where you're going, but it just brings the brightness back out in their face. He was just so excited to be able to go and see that. And you guys run a top-notch program. It is like right on time. We get there at a certain time. We get escorts to the airport. We get to DC. We have escorts from DC to every one of these monuments, and police escorts. So people take it serious when we go there and protecting our veterans when we go and get them in and get them out. This is within a day period that we do this. So thank you for what you do. And I'm so sorry about the passing of John. That was quite a shock for him. He was if I'm not mistaken, he was the program director, young guy. So again, our hearts go out to him and to his family.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you very much.
Okay, members, we still have quite a bit to get through here in our time frame, and we are going to go now to the Children's and Family and Elders Affairs section, which is first we're going to hear on the Alzheimer's Association. John, are you on board?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you have the board. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Senator Mayfield, and thank you for the opportunity to briefly address you and Representative Kroll today. As you know, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in our country, and the only top 10 leading cause of death in America without prevention, treatment, or cure. Florida has the 2nd highest prevalence of Alzheimer's disease in the country, with over 580,000 people living with the disease. We only have 7% of the nation's population, but we actually have 10% of the cases. For 2021, the Alzheimer's Association is proposing legislation that will seek to address the training requirements for staff in our long-term care communities across the state, as well as professional medical staff as it relates to understanding of the disease. Studies have shown that direct care workers in our long-term care communities are the most important determinant of quality dementia care. These providers help to shape the daily lives of individuals with dementia by assisting in all aspects of their physical care. That is why the Alzheimer's Association is proposing legislation that will create uniform training for staff in our long-term care communities, requiring a 1-hour training course for all staff upon hire, along with additional hours for training for direct care workers, which will be up to about 8 hours in total in some cases, plus an additional 4 hours of continuing education training every year thereafter for direct care staff in assisted living, nursing home, adult daycare centers, hospice, and home health care agencies. Additionally, we are proposing legislation that focuses on outreach and awareness to our medical professionals. That would push the Department of Health into enhancing what information they disseminate to doctors and nurses, information that has not been very well distributed to date, and could help citizens get better and earlier diagnosis and detection of the cognitive impairments that lead to Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. Currently, we are actively seeking sponsors for this proposal, and currently are reaching out to legislators at this time. Also, the association recognizes the impact that COVID-19 has placed on the state and the impact it will have on the state budget next year. However, we believe that in times like these, there is a need to continue funding programs that have proven track record of providing care and services for those in need. Programs like the association's Brain Bus. Finally, we feel that both research and respite services are important areas that the state needs to continue its investment. So the association has also supporting the maintaining current year funding levels for the Ed and Ethel Moore research program, as well as maintaining existing funding levels for the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative and community care for the elderly, both funded through the Department of Elder Affairs. So on the behalf of the Alzheimer's Association and the 5.8 million Americans living with disease, their families and caregivers, I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me today to address these issues and look forward to the opportunity to engage with you and your staffs when we all return to Tallahassee. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John. We appreciate that update. Okay, members, we're going to go to the Guardian at Lighton, Circuit 19. Heather Parker is the director. Heather, are you on the line?
I'm here. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grahl. I really appreciate this minute or two to chat with you today. My name is Heather Parker, and I am the Circuit Director for the Guardian ad litem in the 19th Judicial Circuit, which of course includes Indian River County. Our program assigns every child a dedicated advocacy team, which is comprised of a dedicated volunteer guardian who typically only takes 1 or 2 cases at a time in order to devote more attention to their assigned children, as well as a child advocate manager to help oversee the case and provide support, and an attorney to represent the child's best interests. Last year was challenging during COVID-19, but that did not stop our program from continuing to work for our children, for their best interests. Our volunteers did not let the quarantine stop their important advocacy. They utilized Zoom and apps and computer systems to make sure that all of the programs for our kids, all of the services did not waver. During 2020, we served a total of 1,223 abused and neglected children, and also did over 200 outside of our circuit visits. We trained and certified 76 new volunteers, and those volunteers racked up an amazing 9,006 volunteer hours. This is roughly the equivalent of 4.5 full-time state employees. Locally, we have almost 350 volunteer child advocates, and statewide, the program has over 10,000 volunteers and 439 attorneys who selflessly provide pro bono legal services. As part of our statutory mission to advocate for the best interests of the children, the Guardian program uses what we learn from representing individual children to identify systemic problems and try to find solutions in communities at the state level. This year, we are advocating for statutory changes to streamline the adoption process. And second, we are championing a bill to remove the technical barriers for older youth to be able to go to college or vocational school. We hope these changes will get children to safe, loving homes, and for those children who age out of the system to be better equipped and successful as young adults. We hope you will support these initiatives if they come by you, and the Guardian ad litem program would also like to be a resource to you and your staff if you have any questions related to child welfare. It means a great deal to our program and the children we represent to have the support of our local delegations. We are grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you. You kept it right under 3 minutes. So
wonderful.
You did a good job. Thank you for all that updated. It's very important information too. So
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, next we are going to go to Melanie Hearn, who is the Family Care Council for Area 15 Director. Melanie, you're are you there? Oh, she's not there. Okay, well, we will come back to her if we have time. Next, then, we're going to have Parental Rights, Patty Sullivan. Patty, are you there? I thought I saw you earlier.
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. Great to see you.
So thank you for having me. Good afternoon to you both, and thank you and your team for providing this forum for us to speak with you. As As you may know, the parental rights movement began here in 2011 with the Florida legislature passing a resolution that basically affirmed that parents have the fundamental right to care for their own children. So, and you would think that the fundamental right of a parent to determine what's in the best interest of their minor children in regard to their upbringing, their well-being, and education would be a common sense fundamental thing. But unfortunately, I can give you multiple instances right here in Florida, especially recently, where there's been increasing overreach and infringement on this fundamental right. 3 years ago, Representative Grohl introduced the Parents' Bill of Rights, and this has made progress here in Florida with it ultimately last year, this last legislative session, it passed in 3 committees and it passed all the way through on the House side. And we're very happy to see that, very pleased to see that. However, it had a most unfortunate ending on the Senate side. So the basic reason for this bill is that all throughout Florida statutes, there are current parental rights in the statutes right now, but they're scattered in a lot of various places, which makes it difficult for parents and also government agencies to be aware of what these parental rights are. They don't necessarily provide clear, comprehensive guidelines to these different government agencies to know where their line starts and where the line ends. And this confusion for the parents and the governmental agencies has resulted in undue infringement upon the rights of parents. And passing this Parents' Bill of Rights will consolidate all the current parental rights statutes into one law, into one comprehensive statute, providing clear and concise guidelines for Florida citizens and for government agencies. So we believe that this is a common sense bill. And last year it had bipartisan support and multiple co-sponsors. We're pleased to say that this Parents' Bill of Rights has once again been sponsored and introduced by Representative Grohl on the House side. And it's also been sponsored and introduced by Senator Ray Rodriguez on the Senate side, with co-sponsors already logging on. Thousands of Florida families are actively engaging in this process, and we're asking that this good faith and common sense legislation be passed in this legislative session. Actually, here in Florida, and just this past year, especially since the spring, there's been a marked increase in government entities violating these current statutes for reasons as simple as the fact that they don't even know it exists. And so I have 2 files full of articles right here, just since the spring, of current violations and current parental rights lawsuits that are happening. And all of this would really be unnecessary if we could just have this one simple thing, bring everything under one current statute and an umbrella. So I do understand that the budget is important, and I also believe that not only can the budget be a priority, but it will actually speak volumes to Florida families if this Parents' Bill of Rights moves forward and ultimately passes and is signed into law. We believe that the governor was aware of it last year and that he would have been happy to sign it into law. Senator Mayfield, I appreciate your past and your continued active role in engaging in important family issues on our behalf. I've seen it numerous times, and I want to thank you for that. And I'd like to ask you that you would please take a look into this and please join in this effort. We especially need help on the Senate side with moving it to full passage to answer questions, because it doesn't keep government entities from addressing issues with parents. Those things are very clear in that bill. But it does give them guidelines and protect parental rights that are unnecessarily violated. We all know that Florida families are the heartbeat of this state, and I'm asking you both to champion this issue and really put Florida families first. We've all been through a lot in this last year, and again, I understand the budget is so important, but I think this is an opportunity to set a precedent here in Florida because of what's happening nationally on behalf of parental rights, and especially here in this state. It's never been such a critical time, and we believe it's imperative that we get this bill passed. So thank you both for your time and for representing us so well. We really
Great.
appreciate
Thank you, Patty, and thank you for the initiative that you've stayed on, which is a very important initiative. So thank you for coming. Members, next we're going to hear from Big Brothers Big Sisters of St. Lucie, Stacy Watson. Stacy, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Hi, first I want to say Senator Mayfield and Representative Grawl, thank you so much for always being such incredible champions of children. I represent Big Brothers Big Sisters of St. Lucie, Indian River, and Okeechobee County. I am the CEO of this agency. And through this last year, you continued to support our Department of Education funding for BIG's Inspiring Scholastic Success, the Department of Juvenile Justice, as well as the Department of Economic Opportunity, which I know, Senator Mayfield, you championed that specifically. The work that we've been able to accomplish in such a challenging year has been fairly exciting and has really given us some new tools in our tool belt for how we reach children and families. We've taken a calm, metered, and intentional approach that's worthy of the mentors that volunteer their time with us. We've continued to see a 95% improvement in social emotional adaptation from our children, as well as a 96% improvement of their academic success. Thanks to the Bank of America, we received 4,000 masks and 40 cases of hand sanitizers to distribute directly to our families and our big brothers and big sisters. It has been a challenging year, there's no doubt, but the fortitude of the team and our community has really allowed us to continue to serve our children. Because of agencies like CSAC here in Indian River County, Volunteer Florida statewide, AmeriCorps, the United Ways in all three counties, the Children's Services County in St. Lucie, we've really had a lot of generous philanthropy that has made sure that the children remain the focus of all of our efforts during this time. For 35 years, we've served this community, yet this year took a unique turn. I am the first CEO in the 35-year history of the agency to reside in Indian River County. And yay, very welcome. And we also made a proactive move early in the pandemic to reduce overhead costs by eliminating our headquarters in St. Lucie, moving to a small building, deploying our COO who lives in St. Lucie County to that location, and I am now located out of the Vero Beach office, which means for the first time, we've also moved our administrative work here to Vero Beach. We have MOUs with all three of the school districts that we serve, and we've finally begun to re-enter our schools, which has been very exciting. We've launched the big mission in the last year with the generous support of the Indian River County Impact 100. We were thrilled to find a young 10-year Army veteran who served 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, has a bachelor's degree from Indian River State College in Human Services, and he is now the person managing that program. The goal of it being to reach law enforcement, veterans, and first responders and pair them in one-to-one relationships in order to build better understanding as well as strong role models for our children. Since the beginning of school, we've logged over 5,000 hours of one-to-one tutoring with children, whether it be in person or online. And we have nearly 300 recorded videos now that parents can play over and over for their children as they learn to read. The partnerships and collaborations that have been strengthened. I really like to celebrate joy, and it's been a tough year to do that. But what we found a great time to partner with local agencies such as Youth Guidance, the Environmental Learning Center, the Ballet of Vero Beach, and the Vero Beach Museum of Art to make sure our children don't get lost in all of our stress of this year. So it's been a wonderful year. We've joined the SHAC committee for the Indian River School District, as well as the Substance Abuse Free Indian River County Committee. So as you'll see, we are becoming more and more engaged in this community. We celebrate everyone that's been doing hard work on behalf of our children, and we thank you for your support.
Great, thank you, Stacy, for that update. Members, we are going to go next to Jim Sullivan. Jim, you're the state coordinator for Parents for Rights. Are you on the line too? Okay, we'll come back to Jim if he comes on the line. Next, we have Catherine Booth. Catherine, are you on the line?
Yeah.
Huh?
Good afternoon.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go back to Jim. He just popped up. If we can go back to Jim, and then Catherine, you're on deck. Is he there?
He looks like he's there, Senator, but I don't hear I don't hear him.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on then, Catherine, to you. Catherine Booth, are you on the line? Is she on the line? Okay, she's not on the line either. Okay, this is good.
She's also there, and it looks like she just was muted.
Hello, can you hear me now?
There she is.
Oh, we can hear you now, Catherine.
Sorry about that.
Is she there?
Yes, can you see me?
No, we can't see you.
Okay, well.
There you are. Now we see you. Now you're muted. Can you unmute her?
Yeah. Okay, I'm unmuted again.
Yes, you're unmuted again.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grahl. I'm Catherine Booth, a retired nurse practitioner, asking you to assure Indian River County Commissioners that they can enact the Safe Harbor Ordinance under Home Rule to ensure the safety of women seeking an abortion in the county. Abortion, as with any other medical or surgical procedure, should be performed in a safe and sanitary environment that is transparent to the public with government oversight. A woman seeking an abortion must have complete information on the procedure and its ramifications in order to make an informed decision. She must also have the knowledge that abortion is not her only choice and must have information on how to explore other options. And that is what the Safe Harbor Ordinance would ensure. From the Bible in Genesis, we know that God creates every human life, and in the book of Deuteronomy, God says, today, he set life and death before us, and we must choose life to have his blessing. From the biblical gospels about the life of the historic Jesus, we know that Jesus brings life and life abundantly when we accept his salvation for sin. To those who hate and discriminate against preborn children, our Lord Jesus Christ commanded, love your enemies. Anglicans for Life uphold sanctity of human life from conception. I can only support this ordinance because the majority of women are coerced into abortion by threats of being tossed into the street or loss of relationship, although 90% of those relationships fail anyway, or loss of their very lives. Abortion is known as the friend of criminals because an abortuary is where women are taken to destroy the evidence and they have been violated by rape, incest, prostitution, and sex trafficking. Abortion, an unnatural birth involving the forced removal of their preborn child and ending its life, is a procedure fraught with risk to the mother of suicide, depression, substance abuse, preterm birth, and inability to bond with subsequent children. Over the years, I and many others have witnessed a deplorable situation of an abortuary close by in Fort Pierce. This is located immediately across the street from a public school. The owners are convicted felons. Their crimes include assault and battery, lewd behavior, and solicitation. Their vehicle license tag reads Gun U38. This abortuary has hundreds of pages of police reports and complaints regarding their facility, many building code violations, and numerous safety deficiencies. Men and women continue to crowd the abortion building, up to 28 people at a time, waiting for the abortionist to arrive during this time of the COVID pandemic. The abortionist leaves immediately after the last abortion, leaving no qualified healthcare provider on site. Although required by Florida law, the abortionist does not have hospital privileges nor medical malpractice insurance. Against Florida law, the abortuary does not have a transfer agreement with the closest hospital. Without the Safe Harbor Ordinance, this is exactly the type of abortion operation that would come to our community. So we're asking you, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grahl, to please assure the Indian River County Commissioners that under Home Rule, they can enact the Safe Harbor Ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Catherine. Now we're going to go to, I just got a message that Mr. Sullivan is back on the line. You want to get Jim up? I have a feedback. Are you guys getting this feedback on yours?
I'm not.
Yeah, that's better. Is Jim there? Okay, well, he's not there. So now we're going to go to Senior Resource Associations. Karen.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. We're back to Jim.
Sorry, boy, it's confusing, but we're good. So thank you, Senator Mayfield, as well as Representatives Grahl, for your time today, and I appreciate being able to supplement my wife's comments on this important topic regarding parental rights as well.
And Jim, I will tell you, it's very important. Mrs. Sullivan went over the 3-minute time, so please make sure that it's the same topic. So please make sure you keep to the 3 minutes, so we still have a lot of other people to go through. And it's very important. I get it, but if you will, go ahead.
Oh, I expect that'll be less. Thank you for that, Senator. Thank you, Representative Grohl, for actually sponsoring this bill again, HB 241, which has also been sponsored by Senator Ray Rodriguez in the Senate and embodied in SB 582. And I just wanted to contrast my wife's comments, or compliment them in saying that in addition to this Bill of Rights, Parents' Bill of Rights, providing existing Florida law in an orderly narrative, it also goes further in codifying other rights parents enjoy by virtue of court rulings, but that are long overdue to be codified into Florida law. This is important because judges don't make law, you as legislators do. In addition, I'll say that parental rights now has a resurfacing threat as the new Biden administration is taking the reins. They will show a much more globalist philosophy of governance in contrast to that of the Trump administration. And so this is sure to exhibit itself into a resurfacing and renewing pressure for the USA to enter into what is known as the Convention of the Rights of the Child, which is a 1990 UN treaty that has never been signed by the USA, but there'll be pressure once again, and it would seriously threaten parental rights for the parents of Florida. So it's because of threats like this that the Florida Senate and the House voiced some of these memorials back in 2011. It's incumbent upon the state of Florida to get its house in order on this issue before globalist agendas like this are advanced rather than after, because then it'll be too late. So that which is represented in the Convention of the Rights of the Child will regain renewed traction. And so we're just calling on you to, Senator Mayfield, to support the efforts as best you can of Representative Grohl to that end. So thank you so much for letting me add my comments to that.
Great. And what Senate bill was it that Senator Ray Rodriguez has? What's the Senate bill number?
That's SB 582.
Okay, great. Thank you for that background information too, Jim. Okay, members, now we're going to go to Senior Resource Association. Karen, are you on the line?
I am. Good afternoon, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grohl, and thank you for your time and your service to this community. I'm the CEO with the Senior Resource Association, and Senior Resource Association is recognized as the lead agency in Indian River County for home and community-based services for seniors and adults ages 18 years of age and older, promoting independence and dignity in our community. SRA services we administer are established in law in Chapter 430 of the Florida statutes. So the pandemic seriously jeopardized our ability to reach isolated seniors who were already in a healthcare crisis before the COVID-19 hit. But with a carefully executed crisis plan and the help of heroic volunteers and donors and staff, our organization not only ensured our clients received meals, services, and essential supplies, but the number of our clients also requesting our services nearly doubled. While Senior Resource Association recognizes that the pandemic has negatively affected state revenues, we are asking that the services we provide to vulnerable seniors under the Community Care for the Elderly and Alzheimer's programs be held harmless from cuts. Cutting these home and community programs will only force seniors into nursing homes at a much higher cost and put the seniors we serve at a high risk if SRA doesn't continue to provide the home-delivered meals, personal care, and services that help these frail seniors at home. Senior Resource Association also manages the Public Guardian program in our county, which we are currently serving 19 wards, and we do have a wait list. We ask that you please support the Department of Elder Affairs legislative budget request to maintain funding for the public guardianship programs, which is funded in the healthcare appropriations budget. We're not asking for an increase, only for the legislature to maintain your level of funding so our programs can continue to provide the services and return on investment for your communities and the state of Florida. These funds are tied to individuals, and without this funding, these individuals will lose their public guardianship representation, which is the backstop for the public guardianship system in Florida. And lastly, in addition, as an advocate for the Florida public transit industry, we recognize that local and state governments are losing millions of dollars in tax revenue due to the ongoing pandemic. And we are asking that the 2021 legislature waive the 50% local government match requirements for the state public transit block grant for a period of 2 years to allow both transit systems and local governments to recover more quickly. This action is similar to what the federal government has allowed during this difficult time. This would have a $0 impact on the Florida Department of Transportation budget, and it would allow local governments the ability to access the money without requiring a match, thereby saving local governments millions of dollars statewide. Thank you for your time and your concern for this community.
Great, thank you. And thank you for what you do to caring for our seniors in our community. Members, we're now going to go, our Representative Grawl, we're going to go to United Against Poverty. Matt Tanner, Matt, are you on the line?
I am, Senator Mayfield. Good afternoon.
Great.
Thank you for the opportunity to connect with yourself and Representative Grawl. I am the new executive director here at United Against Poverty Indian River Campus. Representative Grawl, my wife and I just recently relocated from Miami last month, and our son Santana is 6 weeks old. So I can certainly relate to the situation happening on the home front for you. United Against Poverty was founded right here in Indian River County in 2003. We have since expanded into Orlando and Fort Pierce. And simply stated, our mission is to empower and inspire individuals to lift themselves and their families to economic self-sufficiency. We know there's not a one-size-fits-all solution to impacting poverty. It requires a holistic approach. And an opportunity to address a variety of barriers that individuals and families in our county are facing, in particular, dealing with the crisis of the past year. So we do so through 4 core programs. The first is our crisis navigation program. Everybody that comes in through our doors has an opportunity to sit down with a member of our crisis team to build an action plan to identify some of the traditional barriers that are prohibiting families from meeting their basic needs. We saw last year alone an 80% increase in the amount of unique households that we served versus 2019 as a result of the influx of crisis. And that represented an opportunity for us to connect community members to our in-house programs and the connections and referrals that we have in the community. One of the largest programs we have is our member share grocery program. This really meets our hand up, not handout model. Community members that are at or below 200% of the federal poverty line automatically qualify. They have an opportunity to receive a membership card, to utilize our grocery program 6 days a week, as often as they want. All of us have seen, footage on the news or in our local community of families waiting in car lines for hours to have, a bag of food placed in their trunk. We know food insecurity is a national and a local crisis. Our community members are paying, only 30% of what they would traditionally be paying at traditional retail stores. It gives them constant access to healthy food and household items for themselves and their families. We've got 115 product partners across 13 states to make sure that we have a great, diverse product mix so that our community members are satisfied with what they're receiving. We at Indian River Campus saw an average of 500 families a day in 2020, and that is an estimated $5 million plus worth in savings that our members were able to put back and reinvest into their families and into the local economy. We also know that we've got a lot of individuals who are facing unemployment or underemployment, who again are struggling to meet that living wage to support themselves and their families. So we have a very innovative program here in-house called our Success Training Employment Program, known as STEP. To date, over the last 5 years here at this campus alone, we've had 500 graduates of the program. It's a very innovative and unique program in that the curriculum is not only workforce and career preparedness, but each day also includes emotional intelligence. And post-graduation, we have an 85% graduation rate. You remain with our career coach for up to 3 years post-graduation, so that we have that touch point and that support system in place so that you can continue to climb and grow professionally. We also have our education program where we invite community partners to come in. We are about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary of being in a brand new 46,000 square foot space. Representative Grawl, we would love to have you come out and see our new site here in Vero Beach, have an opportunity to tour, see the type of innovation that is happening in the building. Again, I thank you both for your time and certainly look forward to your continued support of our important work. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Matt. And welcome to the community.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Okay, members, next we're going to go to ARC of Indian River County, Noreen Davis. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Senator Mayfield.
Good.
First off, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair, Senator Mayfield, and Representative Grawl for allowing us to speak today. And I am fast here, okay? Number one, as the ARC, we are asking for your support and approval for an increase in state reimbursement rates for services that we provide for special needs adults in Indian River County. Fact, Florida ranks 50 out of 51 nationally for reimbursement rates for services that we provide. Fact, the rates we receive are set by the Florida legislators, and current rates are 11% less than we received in 2003 for the same services. An example, Florida reimburses us $30 per day for our adult day program. In rural New York State, the reimbursement rate for that same program is just under $130 a day. The minimum wage increase from $8.56 to $15 per hour by 2026 will put agencies like the ARC in crisis. Without a state reimbursement increase, we will be in crisis. What we are asking for is the ARC statewide chapters and individuals with disabilities ask the legislature to approve a multi-year commitment to increase provider rates each year through 2026. We are requesting the following: a 16% increase in 2021 and a 12% increase per year from 2022 to 2026. Thank you very much for your time, understanding, and support of our most vulnerable citizens. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Noreen. And if you can get that fact sheet, it wasn't included in your package, I don't believe. Oh yeah, here it is. Never mind. I needed to turn the page. We do have that fact sheet. So thank you for providing that very much. Next up, we are going to have criminal justice reform. Patricia Managers. Sorry, I know I butchered your name up. Are you there, Patricia? Is she there? Can you unmute her? Patricia, are you there?
I'm wondering if maybe the sound on her computer is off, Senator Mayfield.
Yeah, if it's her computer, we've unmuted her on this side. How about Shirley Daniels? Shirley, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Hey, I saw you at the Bavard. Were you at the Bavard delegation one? You look
yes,
familiar.
ma'am.
Huh?
I was.
You were? Okay, good. Well, you're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to come and speak today. As you said, my name is Shirley Daniels. I'm a lifelong Florida voting resident. As your constituent, I come before you with my concerns for our neglected prison system. My husband Keith is incarcerated and serving a 25-year mandatory sentence for a first offense. He was sentenced at the age of 22, and Keith has been incarcerated for 18 long years. Together, we have 5 daughters, 3 grandkids, and 1 on the way. Keith has missed all our girls growing up and now is missing the joy of grandkids. In nearly 2 decades, Keith has grown into a completely different person. He has completed many programs, and this is only after fighting with DOC for 15 years to allow him to be in programs because of his lengthy sentence. And he has not had one single disciplinary report in 18 years. SB 232 would be a second look for Keith and many others like him who have spent most of their lives growing up in prison unnecessarily. Florida prisoners serve sentences 38% longer than the national average. SB 232 would allow courts to reevaluate a person's sentence after a significant period of time served in prison. This system is broken and legislator has failed to address it, either by providing them more resources or doing what must be done to reduce the prison population, said Senator Jeff Brandes in a recent article. Prison system budget grew from $1.5 billion in 1999 to $2.7 billion this year. The Department of Corrections is the state's largest agency and budget item. Hiring more staff will not fix the department's problem. Increasing the budget will not help the department. Changing outdated laws in order to reduce the prison population is the only thing that is going to work. SB 232 would not automatically release anyone from prison. This bill would only offer hope to those that have worked hard to redeem themselves while incarcerated with good behavior and successful accomplishments. Almost 55,000 people across Florida will walk out of the state prisons during the next 5 years, and many of them will be worse off than when they went in. Is this really what we want in our communities? What good does it do to keep human beings locked away for 25 plus years when they have clearly demonstrated growth and change and they are no longer a threat to society? People change and no one is beyond redemption. Please remember all Florida residents, including those who happen to be in prison. In closing, Senator Brandes has a great comprehensive bill here, and I am asking for you to draft and file a companion bill to this SB 232. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. And that Brandes has Senate Bill 232?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 32. Okay. I just want to make sure I had the right number on there. I know Senator Brandes is a big advocate for prison reform and helping. So I'm sure that he's going to do a lot of work, and I will get with him as well. And I just text him and asked him to get with me next week while we're in Tallahassee to talk about it. So just keep up your good work.
Thank you. And I would like to also ask if I know COVID and everything is going on right now, and the representatives and senators, whoever's on today, to make sure that when it opens back up or when you can, if you could please visit a prison, multiple prisons, and see for yourself what's really going on in there. An unannounced visit would be the best, because we don't want them to give you the dog and pony show, make everything look nice. We would like for you to see the way it really is and what's really going on in there. And that's the only way that you're going to know firsthand what needs to be done and how bad it's needed.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shirley. Okay, did Patricia get technical issues do we have technical issues with her? Is she there or? Okay. Okay, we're going to go on next to Sharon Kohler with the Democratic Women of Indian River. Sharon, are you on the line?
I am. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Democratic Women's Club of Indian River County, and I thank both of you, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grawl, for hearing our concerns. We have real issues with House Bill 1, and Senate Bill 484, entitled Combating Public Disorder. These bills were drafted last summer to control Black Lives Matter protests when the majority of protesters in Florida were peaceful. Now the bills appear again rebranded, supposedly in response to the events of January 6th. We have faith that ongoing investigations will make clear the differences between what happened on January 6th and Black people's still very relevant civil right to protest centuries-old unequal laws. We take exception with Senator Burgess's statement, quote, "Episodes of violent civil unrest have no place in our democracy," unquote. A look at our country's history will show that protests that resulted in long-term reform were all fraught with incidents of violence by law enforcement as well as protesters. For instance, the women's right to vote, the Civil Rights Act, ending the Vietnam War, and LGBTQ rights. There are plenty of others. We don't have issues with punishment for criminal acts of violence and vandalism. Our issue is with the increased punishment of those offenses when they occur within a protest. Protests are covered by the right to petition government for redress of grievances under the First Amendment. And so these bills violate the First Amendment by increasing offenses for being there. In conclusion, whoops, I missed one. Law enforcement is threatened as well. Citizens would have the right to bring civil suit against local authorities for failing to provide sufficient police protection. Local law enforcement would have no option but to increase penalties, not because they're warranted, but to avoid litigation. These bills further usurp local police control by allowing the state to override local decisions. We support local government. Now I'm in conclusion. The Democratic Women's Club of Indian River County finds HB 1 and SB 484 in their entirety to be an attack on our First Amendment right to peaceful assembly. I repeat that we support punishment for violence and vandalism addressed in these bills, but punishment for those offenses already exists as standalone Florida laws. By increasing the punishment when the offense is committed during a protest, these bills penalize citizens for petitioning the government for a redress of grievances, which is in the First Amendment. We beseech you, please, to support complete removal of HB 1 and SB 484. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, members, now we're going to go into the election and ethics reform. And first up is Karen Osborne. Karen, are you on the line?
I am here.
Oh, great. You have the screen.
Let me turn the video on. There we go.
There you go.
Thank you so much for taking time to listen to me. I want to thank you both for having honest elections here in Florida. I think that with our Governor DeSantis and here in Vero Beach with Leslie Swan, we had great election integrity. However, to me, the big picture is that down the road, we might not have such stringent rules. And there's three things I really have on my mind. One of them is I think we need to get rid of the Dominion machines that are in a few counties. From the last election, we see how a couple counties can swing a whole state, and I understand there are safeguards in place here in Florida, but the integrity, I guess I keep using that word, the integrity of these machines can be compromised, and I would like to see it be avoided. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. The second thing is I want to thank you for getting Florida in the ERIC program, which keeps people from double voting. And even though it's more a federal thing, I think there's only 29 of the states are involved in it. It is a registration of voters that move around. So my third thing comes from my experience knocking doors for the recent campaigns. And between my team and I in Indian River County, we probably knocked 40 to 45,000 households. And out of that huge number, we found maybe a third of these households had invalid voter registrations registered at their houses by address. So the current solution to that is to have the list and that Leslie would send verification postcards out. But it is not feasible anymore to regenerate that list just because of the time it takes to go knock doors. So I would like to ask that y'all institute in the state of Florida a universal voter registration verification, which would be a mail out that would go to all of the voters who are registered, and it would be the same thing as the postcard. It would be signed if you are a valid voter at that address and sent back to you. And then the ones that don't answer are the ones that we can investigate, whether on a volunteer basis with my group and I, or, in the whole state, or with the election offices. And I know Representative Brawl, you're on the committee that has a lot to do with that. And for that reason, I appeal to you maybe more. Again, I think I probably skipped over a whole bunch of my points, but
well, Lamar's going to be up after you, so I'm sure she'll probably hit the ones that you might have forgotten.
Yeah. So it's basically those three things: get rid of the Dominion machines; they've been compromised, and find a way to purge our voter registrations.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Karen, very much.
Great.
And I just, Senator Mayfield, if I may, and this applies to many of the issues we've talked about today and we'll continue to talk about. I think I would suggest that those of you interested in topics that you're speaking on to follow the committee work in the House and in the Senate. I anticipate that there will be a fairly lengthy hearing about elections statewide, probably in the next 3 weeks in my committee. And I know that each committee will take on different issues in a workshop format. And so it's always good to follow those committees on the Florida channel, or you can go to myfloridahouse.com or flsenate.gov, and you can find the committee hearings there. And it's very good. Those of you that are obviously engaged in this call are interested in government and would be interested in following those issues throughout the course of session.
Thank you for that.
Great, thank you, Representative Brawl. Okay, next we're going to go to Lamar. Lamar, are you on the line? Is she there? Is she? Okay, you're unmuted on our end, Lamar.
If Lamar's not there, but
Lamar's not there.
She's in the call and she's unmuted.
If Lamar's not there, what she wanted to talk about was getting rid of paper ballots.
Okay. Well, if we can get her, we'll come back to Lamar before the end of before we close out our meeting. Lamar, if you'll just text and let us know, or Jacob, and let him know that you're on the line. Okay, next we're going to go into our healthcare segment, and we're going to go again with Safe Harbor for Life and CareNet Pregnancy Center. Bonnie, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Hello. Thank you, Senator Mayfield and Representative Brawl, for allowing me to share regarding the ordinance of Safe Harbor in Indian River County. I'm Bonnie Martinelli, the Executive Director of CareNet Pregnancy Center of Indian River County, and we are in our 37th year. Paul Zelno of Safe Harbor, he'll be speaking in a minute, calls pregnancy resource centers first responders in the pregnancy world, because daily we talk to women who have had an abortion or are wanting one. I'm going to share some statistics and stories of our women here in Indian River County, but first I would like to share that statistics show that nearly half of all pregnancies in the U.S. are unplanned, and more than likely that included many of us. And 4 out of 10 women facing an unplanned pregnancy will choose abortion. Just over in a 3-year period, there were 843 women who had abortions in Indian River County. The women we see who find themselves in an unplanned pregnancy are struggling with fear, guilt, and shame. They don't know what to do, so the first thing they think of is to get rid of the problem. But it leaves them with years of regret. They don't realize there's other options. The good news is 86% of women will choose life if just one person will support them. When clients come to pregnancy resource centers, we see firsthand the effects of abortion. One client in tears shared with me about her abortion 7 years ago when she was 15. Her abortion was very painful physically and emotionally. She had to go through it alone because she didn't tell anyone. Now that she is pregnant again, she thinks about that baby she aborted. I shared with her about our post-abortion recovery program called Surrendering the Secret. Another client shared she had 3 abortions. Her first abortion traumatized her so much she was suicidal. She took the abortion pill for the next 2 pregnancies. With her 3rd abortion, she shared through tears that she saw the embryo and the yolk sac. She has gone also through Surrendering the Secret and continues to work through the grief and regret. And sometimes women are told to have an abortion for either their medical safety or concerned their baby will be born with deformities. I was one of those women. My doctor told me to consider having an abortion because twice I tested positive for toxic plasmosis, which can cause the baby to have brain or organ damage. At that point, I had to decide. Since abortion morally wasn't an option for us, we proceeded with our pregnancy. Our daughter is 27. She only had a cleft palate and an underdeveloped jaw, which were easily fixed with surgery. She just gave birth to our first grandchild, Esther Suzanne, who's 4 weeks old now. A couple of months ago, a woman called asking for the abortion pill. She said, "I need the abortion pill. Can you get it for me?" I told her we don't perform or refer for abortions, but we would love for you to come in for pregnancy options counseling. She did, and later she brought the father of the baby, and we brought them in for an ultrasound. And when they saw their baby's heart beating, they agreed, even though things were tough, that was their baby. And we like to say they bonded with the beat. She regularly comes now into CareNet to receive encouragement, education, and baby items. One last story. This past summer, we had 4 homeless pregnant women come into CareNet. As we did pregnancy options counseling, 3 of these women chose adoption. Many women do not consider adoption because they don't know anything about it. But when we educate the women, it empowers them to make more informed decisions. We walk alongside them the whole way, as with all of our moms, through the 2nd year of life of their child. Even during these past 10 months, we didn't close our doors for 1 minute. In conclusion, these are only a few of the stories we hear daily. I hope these stats and stories of women in Indian River County will be helpful when you are making your decision about the Safe Harbor Ordinance. Not only does abortion terminate a life, abortion hurts women physically and emotionally. And thank you very much, both of you, for all you have done for this cause. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you, Bonnie, and thank you for what you do too. We're going to go back to Lamar. Is she on now? Okay, Lamar, can you hear us? Lamar, have you got your screen unmuted? We've unmuted you from this end. Okay, well, we can see you, but we can't hear you, so we'll have to.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. It took several tries, but here I am. Thank you so much for your patience, guys. I'm sorry it's been a long meeting, but thank you, Erin and Debbie, for everything that you're doing for us, and we appreciate you so much. I just want to follow up with Karen. She said the opposite of what I was trying to say, which is we should revert back to paper ballots. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. It is bipartisan, which is why Hillary told Joe Biden never to concede. If there was confidence in our elections, I don't know why she would say that. So I'm going to mention a couple of things, and I also sent you links for documentation. Are you guys hearing feedback?
I'm not.
Okay, so I guess one of my audios is working for you and both are working for me. So it's a little annoying, but I'll deal with it. The American people on both sides do not trust the results of our elections. Okay, so I would recommend to remove all voting machines without naming a company, because anybody who names companies is threatened with lawsuits. So number 2 is eliminate or reduce early voting. I have no idea how much money we spend on early voting, but every year it gets longer and longer and longer. It used to be a day. Then it was 3 days. Now it's weeks. Next time it's going to be months. And that uses up countless taxpayer resources. So it's unnecessary. And I think number 3, we must require a government issued ID. My son used to have to provide his original birth certificate to play Little League Baseball. And given the implications with regard to our national security and our most sacred right, which is the right to have our voices heard in voting for our representatives, why should we not require government documentation of each voter's identity? Number 4 is to protect whistleblowers. Like I mentioned before, anybody who even dares to question the integrity of a particular voting system is in danger of being threatened even with their lives. And some people have literally gone into hiding because their lives have been threatened. We cannot allow this. This is our first, this hits it right at our First Amendment right. We have a right to have our issues addressed and to have our voices heard. Number 5, of course, is the hand-counted paper ballots statewide and eliminate machine processing entirely. And I think that would go a long way toward addressing this issue that affects the left and the right. There's many articles and stories and personal testimonials with affidavits stating that there was massive fraud in the 2020 elections, and without integrity in our electoral process, we are a banana republic. I think this should have oversight by an equal number of Republicans and Democrats, or at least representative of the party membership in each locality. And as Karen mentioned, to clean up voter rolls, because there was a lot of inaccuracies when we were walking neighborhoods. So those are some of my suggestions, but the worst thing we could do is sweep everything under the rug, but protect whistleblowers. Please make sure that whistleblowers are protected. We've got vaccine makers with full indemnity, even after Bill Gates admitted that 700,000 people might be injured by vaccines. So we need to protect whistleblowers. If we're going to protect government agencies and we're going to protect vaccine makers, we should also protect tax-paying American citizens who have legitimate concerns about the integrity of our elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lamar. Okay, we're going to pick up with Benjamin with Safe Harbor for Life. Benjamin, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to address your forum, Senator Mayfield and House Representative Grahl. The Safe Harbor for Life initiative has been endorsed and signed by the petitioners of over 800 citizens of Indian River County, by the senators and the State House Representatives constituents as of November 17th, 2020. The ordinance has been presented to the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners for their consideration and their approval. We are present here today to ask our representatives to advocate for passing Safe Harbor for Life ordinance to the Indian River County Commissioners. In the Florida Statute 166.021 reads, the Florida legislature has clarified that the grant of home rule powers, I quote, shall be so construed as to secure the municipalities the broad exercise of home rule powers granted by the Constitution. So we seek to make this a local issue. Article 7, Section 2 of the Florida Constitution has confirmed home rule powers upon its municipalities. Florida legislature recognizes that any county or municipality may enact in a manner prescribed by law health regulations and ordinances not inconsistent with state public laws and rules adopted by the department, Florida Statute 381.006. The proposed ordinance offers expanded choices, which are different from the expanded choices, which are expansions of the current legislature on a state level. They are four. One is the choice and an option of adoption be made to the woman seeking an abortion if she so chooses. So it's expanding choices, but it would be required under this ordinance. Improve safety standards for abortion clinics who choose to operate in Indian River County, decreasing the risks to the health and safety of the mother and child. Full disclosure option for the proven safety medical reversal of the so-called abortion pill, which is a cocktail of RU486. And should the pregnant mother change her decision during the process, she would have that option to reverse that process be known to her. The requirement of the abortion clinic of a non-discrimination clause that prevents an abortion based on the sex of the unborn. Females are aborted at 3 times the rate of males based on sex alone. We, the people, have duly noted the decisions made by our local representatives in the interest of saving lives with masks, which is highly disputed. The argument that lives at risk through unsafe abortion clinics is well documented and published by the American United for Life in a document called Unsafe, which can leave little dispute. If one reads the Safe Harbor for Life ordinance in its entirety, we realize that improving safety of the mother and the unborn is clear, but also expands the mother's choices with full disclosure of the process, the risks, and the ramifications of her choice at a most vulnerable time in her young life. We, the people advocating for life, reserve the right to take our appeal to the state level if the safety standards and full disclosure is voted down by the county representatives. We don't have a date for a vote, but we are working toward that end. This is an ordinance that offers our local officials the opportunity to do what is right for safety of the expected mother and her unborn life and expand her choices through full disclosure of options. And I'm going to close with this rather pointed true story. There was a blind girl who hated herself because she was blind. She hated everyone except her loving boyfriend. He was always there for her. She told her boyfriend, "If I could only see the world, I would marry you." One day, someone donated a pair of eyes to her. When the bandages came off, she was able to see everything, including her boyfriend. He asked her, "Now that you can see the world, will you marry me?" The girl looked at her boyfriend and saw that he was blind. The sight of his closed eyelids shocked her. She hadn't expected it. The thought of looking at them the rest of her life led her to refuse to marry him. Her boyfriend left in tears and days later wrote a note to her saying, "Take good care of your eyes, my dear, for before they were yours, they were mine." We can be like the woman not seeing the life of someone else, or like the person giving of his sight so that another one can see. That decision should be ours at a local level. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Benjamin. Now we're going to go to William Evans with the Indian River Democratic Executive Committee.
Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear and see you.
Perfect, that's great. Senator Mayfield, Representative Grawl, thank you very much for the time today. You know, I represent the Democrat Executive Committee. We feel that the top legislative focus for this year continues to be the COVID pandemic. And that really breaks down into 2 aspects of that, the health aspect and the economic aspect. And I think we're not alone in that belief. If you look at yesterday's Washington Post ABC poll, 52% of people feel that COVID continues to be completely out of control. And another 36% says it's only somewhat under control. So we've got 88% of the population that feels we need a lot of work to do and that we still have a problem. From our vantage point, health comes first. I was very glad to hear Jason Brown's presentation. We echo everything he had to say. He needs all the support that he can get to continue to push out the vaccine, get it from the state and local, and get it passed out. We also think there needs to be a consistent approach here. Right now, it feels like everybody's out for a pass. Every county's doing it differently. We think there's an opportunity for best practice. We would like to see that captured. We would like to see that inculcated in both the management system and an IT system, and have that be the best practice so that we can build on that as we go forward. Let's hope we're not given shots again a year from now and having to face the same problem. So indeed, let's build on that. There's also one other aspect of this. I think when it came to the school situation, we learned that not having ubiquitous broadband was a problem, and distance learning therefore suffered. So we ask you, as potential federal infrastructure bills come together, that you focus on getting broadband to everybody in Florida. So let's get ahead of that power curve before we have to react to that as well. The second aspect is the economic side of COVID. We ask you to support HB Bill 207 that Anna Escamani has put together, asking for relief in a number of ways. We believe that the Connect employment system is pretty heavily broken and needs to be severely updated or completely replaced. We need to make sure that we provide all the aid to our citizens. Obviously, the folks most impacted by COVID are folks that are on the lower end of the spectrum, and we don't want to see anybody that's lost their jobs go hungry or get evicted from their homes. We think you should focus heavily on leveraging the federal bills that have come out and will come out, and we want to make sure that you focus on supporting the PPP program for small business, because without them, we're not going to get the employment bump that we need to have in the future. So we've sent you a detailed write-up on all of our thoughts. In summary, we think that if you guys can focus on that and make sure we stay on top of it and be in a position where you can transparently communicate progress, that would be very helpful. With that, thank you for your time today.
Great, thank you, William, for that detailed information. It's very helpful. We are going to go back. Is she ready? We are going to go back to, we're going back to Melanie. Yeah, Melanie Hearn. She is the Family Care Council for Area 15 Director. Melanie, are you there now?
Yes, I am. I thank you very much. I beg your pardon for being late.
No, not a problem.
Welcome. We've been dealing with some issues at home of health and concern. That's all I'll say for now. I am the mother of an adopted individual with intellectual disabilities, and I learned to reach out to my state to understand the system. That's how I gained an application and then applied many years ago to be appointed by the governor at that time. But it's in a governor-appointed board called Family Care Council, Area 15, of which we are St. Lucie, Martin, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties. And within our sequence or our mission statement, it reads that our mission of Family Care Council is to educate and empower individuals with developmental disabilities and their families, partnering with the Agency for Persons with Disability, also known as APD, to bring quality services to individuals for dignity and choice. And to live within that means of the home and community-based waiver, which waives their right to institutionalization. It brings that person to be able to live in their community or even in their family home, which we presently have with our adopted son from very birth. He's been with us. And I have had to be also an advocate mom for health care, for recently for a pacemaker, and then for health issues that happened during that, and advocate for the necessary health issues, and even taking Aka to hearing at one point to maintain his viability of life to have nursing care in the home. So right now we're having a lapse in those services because of certain health issues that have hit our area. So I want to say this. As a person who lives this every day and as a governor appointee, I invite you to take part in our virtual DD Day, Developmental Disability Day, Tuesday, March 30th, which will be by the ARC of Florida's as well as the Developmental Disability Council of Florida. So put that on your calendar, please. I would appreciate you coming on live and joining us. I will second the ARC's request because you saw the disparity of payment, and our care providers, our direct care support people have not been kept up to a legitimate lifestyle of living, and they're caring for individuals and humans. They're not just flipping burgers, okay? So I would also like to say that our direct care support people are paid through the individual's iBudget, or if they are on the CDC Plus, which is consumer directed care, that is all managed through our Agency for Persons with Disability. So one of our members of our council in Area 15 wrote this presentation. We'd like to reinstate retroactive Medicaid and for individuals on the home and community-based waiver. When the Agency for Persons with Disability, APD, waiver support coordinators and the Agency for Healthcare Administration fail to timely assist individuals with ongoing medical services, the reinstatement of the retroactive Medicaid will save the state of Florida legal fees and lawsuits. Each area needs an ACA and an APD liaison that is mandated to address these waiver support coordinator and home and community-based waiver recipients' issues within 24 hours to ensure the health and safety of individuals on the home and community-based waiver. This will save the state of Florida those legal fees and lawsuits when immediate assistance is provided to our most fragile and vulnerable citizens. Oftentimes, waiver support coordinators cannot fix family issues without the assistance from APD and ACA. It is essential that a point person is responsible to respond immediately. They removed 8% funding reduction for families choosing to go over to this consumer-directed care, where the family actually has to submit all the billing, do all the payouts through consumer-directed care, but it's not a paid position, if you understand. So this will impact APD and Medicaid. This will save the state of Florida thousands of preventing institutionalization of individuals presently eligible for the home and community-based waiver. Reducing funds for families and that choose to care for our individuals in their homes should not be, an option of reducing those funding sources. This past year, the COVID outbreak clarifies the need for in-home services as opposed to institutionalization. Here's another point. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, nursing, behavioral services, personal care services are medically necessary services and should remain with the Agency for Healthcare Administration as opposed to the Agency for Persons with a Disability. APD's funding is inconsistent, and the funding for medically necessary services should not be an optional annual service based on APD's annual allotment.
Melanie, are you coming into a conclusion on that? I hate to do that, but we're running way behind.
Very good. Yes. And so what I would like to do is to meet with you all and look over 393, which is our legislative mandate to service these people because of the recertification that has to happen every 6 months for, say, like behavioral services. APD needs an in-house local position whose sole purpose is to coordinate local and develop alternative funding sources for individuals that meet the home community eligibility. This position will assist in development of alternatives to state-funded services. I also would beg you to go to our governor and put forward what the CDC has said for those with Down syndrome and other intellectual disabilities as a high critical need to be considered in the first and second wave, including our seniors, for the vaccine if that family chooses to be vaccinated for their individual. Thank you very much for this time, and I beg your continued support. I will meet you in your offices locally, if it's possible, at some point in February or early March. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Melody. We're going to go back and pick up with Florida for Care, and that's Eric Stevens. Eric, are you there?
I am.
Great. You have the screen.
Thank you, Senator Mayfield, and everybody else. All your service that you've been putting in the past year, whether it's been at food giveaways in your areas or helping people that were unemployed. I'm Eric Stevens. I work with a nonprofit, Florida for Care. I started actually working with United for Care when we passed a medical cannabis law back in 2016. And there's a couple great things that have been happening, and I want to thank you for those. We've got almost 500,000 patients here in the state at this point. The allowance was given for temporary telemedical recertifications for patients who are already a patient. I know that's something that people were afraid of at first. I think that was very helpful for immunocompromised patients and others. And so I think we should look into doing something more permanent than just a temporary governor's order, and maybe how to structure that. And I'll try and be brief on these 2 or 3 other last things. I'd love to further meet with you guys and your staff on this, whether it's virtually or otherwise between now and then. But what we're still hearing from all of those patients, over 5 million that voted yes for this amendment, is they need medical and employment rights. They can't get hired right now for being a patient. The drug testing that occurs does not show impairment. And there really needs to be some protections like there are in other states. And there can be ones that have safety sensitive carve outs and other things. There's also older people in assisted living facilities that cannot get access right now. And so we need to have some protections for that. There's also been a push to essentially tax patients by limiting THC content, forcing them to pay more, use more. They're paying out of pocket right now for this versus it being covered by insurance. Also, your Board of Medicine has been putting out some great information and reviews. However, what they have been lacking is an actual recommending physician that's working with patients here in the state. So it would be great to see 1 or 2 of those added in. And also, the more research we can continue to do. I know FAMU is getting about $10 per ID card, and you can do the math. I'd love to see how we can help more with that and anything else here in the future. But looking forward to getting together virtually or in the future in person with you guys, and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric, for that. And you're talking about the candidacy, right?
Yes, medical cannabis.
Okay, medical. Okay. Just wanted to make sure everyone else knew that that's what you were referring to.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much, and I look forward to discussing more with you if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, we are going to go now to Linda Levine with the Democratic Women of Indian River.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Senator Mayfield and Representative Grawl. I'm here today speaking for the hundreds of women who belong to the Democratic Women's Club in our county. And we come to you today to voice our distress about the failure of the state of Florida to expand Medicaid coverage for our citizens. I don't need to remind you that we are suffering through a pandemic. And although all of us are facing this crisis, we are not dealing with the fallout of this pandemic equitably. The pandemic is hurting most those who are least capable of fighting the health crisis. Our neighbors who are working in the service industry have lost wages, lost jobs, and they've also lost their health. And many of these people fall into the Medicaid coverage gap that prohibits them from any access to health care without Medicaid expansion, so that adults with an income which is equal to or under 138% of the federal poverty line are not eligible for Medicaid in Florida. Without an expansion of services, they have no health care. Estimates are that 1,362,000 additional people could be covered here in Florida with Medicaid expansion. So why wouldn't we want to ensure health care for our fellow citizens? Well, some have argued that Medicaid expansion would put an undue burden on state funding. In fact, Research has shown that Florida's economy is negatively impacted by not expanding Medicaid. Our state is projected to lose $66.1 billion in the decade from 2014 to 2024. This is more than any other state in the nation. And negative impacts also accrue from the fact that our hospitals are increasingly providing uncompensated care to those who have no access to any form of health care other than an emergency room. So what has been the impact of Medicaid expansion in other states? The strong balance of objective evidence indicates that actual costs so far from expanding Medicaid are negligible or minor in states across the political spectrum. These states do not regret their decision to expand Medicaid. And so it is for these reasons that the Democratic Women's Club supports Senate Bill Joint Resolution 276. This joint resolution proposes the creation of a new section to Article 10 of the state constitution to provide Medicaid coverage for persons under the age of 65 who have an income equal to or below 138% of the federal poverty level. Healthcare is a requirement for every citizen of our state. This need is now becoming desperate in the middle of a pandemic. It makes economic sense. It makes political sense to help our fellow Floridians. And it's also a moral imperative. I thank you very much for allowing me to talk to you about this today.
Great. Thank you, Linda, very much. Now we are going to go to our last presenter, is Nicole. Are you on the line, Nicole?
Yes. Hi. Okay. Good afternoon, Senator.
And you're supporting, what are you, it just says you're a constituent. So what?
I'm a constituent. I'm a community ambassador for Florida Freedom Keepers, which is a state chapter of Florida Freedom Keepers United. Our mission is to advocate for medical freedom and civil liberties. I would first like to thank Representative Grahl for reintroducing the Parental Rights Bill of Rights as House Bill 241. Florida Freedom Keepers, we're excited to strongly support this bill, as well as companion bill, Senate Bill 582. I would also like to point out that we have heard a rumor from a representative that Senator Lauren Book is planning to introduce a bill this session to once again go after our children's religious exemptions for vaccines. This was the reason last year I got brought into this fight. So we would like to, as we did last year, keep that bill from moving along because it's imperative that we retain these exemptions because our religious beliefs shouldn't take away the right to make medical decisions for our families. Also, once we're stripped of our exemptions, the future of the vaccine schedule will be whatever you deem to add it to. So where does it end? I'd like to voice my support for House Bill 6003, sponsored by Representative Anthony Sabatini, titled Vaccinations During Public Health Emergencies. It would repeal an existing Florida statute that gives authority to the state health officers to forcibly vaccinate anyone in the state during a declared public health emergency against their will and with the means of law enforcement, and does not include any provisions for medical or religious exemptions. As an American seeking to advocate for medical freedom, you can see why the removal of this language is imperative. Medical procedures, including vaccines, come with potentially catastrophic risks and should never be forcibly mandated. I'd like to add that we hope that you can support Senate Bill 364, sponsored by Joe Gruters. It's discrimination on the basis of personal health freedom. As of January 1st, 2021, National Child Vaccine Injury Act has paid out more than $4.5 billion since the establishment of the vaccine courts. And more recently, under the PrEP Act signed in 2005, these same manufacturers will be protected from liability of their fast-track products during a declared pandemic. So if you're injured, disabled, or die, there's no recourse against the manufacturers, and this gives them no incentive to prioritize safety over profit. Where there's risk, we must be able to have a choice. Please vote yes to House Bill 241, Senate Bill 582, House Bill 6003, and Senate Bill 364. And please vote no on whatever Senate Bill Senator Lauren Book introduces to take away religious exemptions as well as limit medical exemptions. Thank you for your time, ladies.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. And you have a beautiful baby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes all of the presentations and the speakers. And now we're going to conduct our delegation business. As you know, there's only 2 of us on the delegation, and I want to thank everyone that participated in the delegation meeting, and it's been a pleasure serving you as the chair this last year. And as Representative Grawl, I'm sure will agree, we're looking forward to taking these comments and these suggestions back to Tallahassee and fight for the principles that are ours here in this community. That's what we are elected to do, is represent you in Tallahassee. So with that, there would Representative Grawl and I rotate the chairmanship. So next year, Representative Grawl will be the chair, and I will be the vice chair. And seeing no objections, that is what we'll do. You don't have a choice, Representative Grawl, so you can't object anyway.
Well, thank you for your partnership, and I look forward to taking these issues back to Tallahassee with you, working with you to accomplish a lot for this great community. So thank you, Senator.
Great. And can we see Sebastian now? We're at the end of the meeting, and I can say that we are in adjournment, but we want to see Sebastian first.
He is tucked in a little bit because he's asleep.
Oh,
so I don't know. He's got however he sleeps on mommy at her desk. It's always a different posture. So he has had enough of the delegation meeting, I guess, for today. But did a great job, and I want to thank my sister Heather for helping out.
He was a great baby. Okay, thank you guys, and please don't forget to call our office if you have any questions or concern. And as Representative Grawl said, you can follow us on the Florida channel. You can follow all of our committee meetings by logging on to myfloridahouse.com or floridasenate.gov. So. Thank you guys, and you have a blessed week, and stay safe, and mainly stay healthy. Thank you.